Good evening. It is August 4th. Welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of City Council. It is 7:30 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Master Chief, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Oh, wait, we're supposed to say standing. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Councilmember Moffitt. Father Tony, if you would be so kind.
It's good that we're all here tonight, but I'm going to refer to St. Paul, who wrote the Philippians in almost 2,000 years ago. And he was in danger of dying, and he wrote in gratitude for what they did, unselfishly did this, spoke about their kindness and encouraged the people of Philippi. And so he wrote, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I shall say it again, rejoice. Your kindness shall be known to all. The Lord is near. Have no anxiety at all, but in everything by prayer and petition make your thanksgiving and your request known to God. Then the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guide your hearts and minds." As St. Paul wrote this so many years ago, it also speaks to us today and really speaks to us about having peace and seeking peace that surpasses even our understanding. It also tells us to have our hearts guided in love. And so today, as we come together, we do give thanksgiving for all of Clawson, for the civil servants, for the council, for the city employees, for our schools and teachers and staffs, but most of all for the citizens who live here. As we come together for this meeting, help us be more conscious of every person that lives in Clawson. And as we meet today, we also ask to bring peace to Clawson and to all the households and citizens within Clawson. And may peace come upon this meeting tonight and upon each and every one of us. And we ask this in God's name. Amen.
Thank you, Father Tony, and thank you very much for coming. I'm very happy we got to have Guardian Angel here. It's been a while. All right. So next then, August.
Mayor Scripture.
Here.
Councilmember Georges.
Here.
Councilmember Moffitt.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Here.
Councilman Shepard. I think
Here
he's on
remote from Chicago, Cook County, Illinois.
Chicago, not the Cook County Jail, I hope.
Not yet.
All right, that's a full vote, Madam Mayor.
Let's float. All right. Next on the agenda, we have approval agenda, and nope. I make a motion that we change a few things on here. I motion that we remove the, let's see here, I guess I have to do the items, don't I?
Item 10D.
Yes, item, the mysterious voice coming. Remove item 10D. I think several of us might have sent some comments to Mr. Newshai, some things we noted, and I would just as soon not approve something that needs to be amended. I know there weren't major changes, but significant nonetheless. And if anybody has any other, maybe if they haven't got through looking through it and they want to send them to him, if we approve my removing it, do so. But yes, I want to remove 10D for Mr. Newshai to look that over and bring it back with those corrections. I would like to remove item 8B and C. I think these are extremely important presentations. I am very happy to see them together on the agenda. However, those are workshop items. I went through looking at the things. Those are the kind of things we should be around the table with some paper and a lot of opportunity to go back and forth with questions, especially for newer council members. And I just don't think a regular meeting is the right place for those. And I would really like to see a workshop scheduled to be able to do that in depth. Because that is an in-depth topic. And I believe that would be my motion. I would accept, if someone wants to second it, I'd also accept an amendment.
I'd like to amend it to also remove 7E as we did not receive a copy of Samuel Fitzer's application prior to the meeting.
Actually, you've had his application less than a few months ago because he was appointed to ZBA. And they are down and did not have a quorum last month, so you've all seen his agenda.
But your new members didn't. It didn't go out to the new members of the council if it was sent out before. It wasn't part of the packet. We didn't receive it in advance of this appointment. If he was appointed to ZBA, wasn't for this appointment. I also would like to remove the minutes for the meeting held on July 29th.
Because they don't exist? I mean, they're duplicates?
No, because they didn't include the resignation letters, and I think they should be included in the minutes.
All right. I'm fine. I have no issue removing the minutes. Actually, I can't remember if it was those minutes, but yeah, we need to talk about minutes because we'll do that later. Did you, Councilman? No, I don't have time right now. Councilmember Shepherd, Councilmember Georges, did you need to see Mr. Fitzer's application? We are down a quorum on planning because you're not on there anymore.
No, I think it's more crucial that we maintain quorum for that meeting. Plus the fact that I was able to research his information on LinkedIn, and I'm satisfied as far as what credentials he brings to planning.
Anyway, you don't have a second on it anyway.
Well, I'm just asking, but would you consider allowing him to be appointed? We can also send that to you. I mean, I know you saw it for the ZBA.
Hey, there's been fits had before because this wasn't followed, and
Fine.
you guys are gonna do what you want, but to regularly bend the rules when it meets your needs and
Actually, Mr. August, you were going to look that up. You were going to find his application. You asked me about it, and I said, I don't know what your system is here at the City Hall. Is there not a paper file? Is there not an electronic file where all of these applications are? So what happened with that?
An election.
All right.
Just kind of forgot about it, that's all.
But did I not?
You did mention, can you dig this up for me? I'm like,
Did I not
do you know
say
where it
that was
is? And
something?
you said,
Yes.
no, find it.
And
And I said,
because-
okay, I'll look for it. And
Because-
2 days of election, I didn't look for it, so.
It
It did come up, though. It did come up.
Come on.
but it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
And it's supposed to happen, and it didn't.
So are you saying you're seconding or not?
No, there's
Okay.
no second. So we go back to the original motion.
All right. The
Just-
original motion was to remove what?
10D, 8B, and C. So that's where we're
Second
at.
for that?
Just the three.
I'll second that.
Yes.
I just-
Second.
I would amend my motion to include adding the letters of resignation to July 29th.
It's fine.
Okay.
There's,
I'm
Second
okay
for
with
that.
that.
Yeah, that's fine. You're okay? Okay.
Excuse me. Can we amend it one more time? I want to take away, where did it go?
I don't know.
I stand back.
Okay. All right. Did you unstand back? Did you just?
No, I found it.
Okay.
8A. Pull that one out too.
Second that.
Okay.
I think that'd be another good one for a workshop. It'd be a fun workshop.
Well, actually, I'll accept that amendment. What I would say, and I apologize, Erica, is that I actually, although I have listened to several SISMA things, I have done their webinars before we ever even got involved. I would think that would be best started in our sustainability committee and then filtered up from there, but either way. Yes, I'm fine with that. I'll amend to that. So does the second stand?
Yep. We got to vote on a second. We got to vote on the amendment.
okay, so as of right now, we're voting to remove everything in 8 and 10D. Right? That's up to speed. Okay.
And 70, she added that.
7D,
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yes.
the July 29th minutes.
Yeah.
So 7D, 10D, 8, A, B, C. Okay. We ready for vote? Okay. You look at me, I don't know if it's which way.
Is this on the amendment?
I
This
just
is
can't
on the
stop
whole.
staring at you, August.
I know you can. It's all encompassing because it was seconded and agreed to,
Yes.
so I'm going to do it as one thing,
Yes.
okay? All right, Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
We are amended.
Erica, I apologize. Mr. Lockwood, I apologize. PFM, I apologize. We'll be back in touch.
Do you want me to leave the?
Yes, you know I do.
This one here?
And can we
I'll
set?
put 'em up there
Can we
afterwards.
set up a workshop, a small one, for her?
Well, we'll talk about that later.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Miss. I don't know if it's Clayton or Clayton. I'm gonna go with Erica. All right. Okay, so then that would take us to the consent, yes, consent agenda, which would be item A, B.
Public comment?
Oh, you're right.
Would be
That would take
next.
us to public comment for items on the agenda. Sorry.
No problem.
I do not have my computer glasses on. I can't get close enough and far enough here. So is there anybody, who do I have online? Okay, we do have people online. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come up for items on the agenda?
Hi, I'm Susan Phillips, and I just had a quick question. Are we using Matt Hodges or AEW as our city engineer, or both? And he does a great job. That was just my question, because AEW was on the agenda. Thank you.
No, it's,
I could not hear the microphone, so I didn't hear what was being said.
is that you, Glenn?
Yes, it's me. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me now?
Was it the microphone not working?
No, her microphone's working.
Glenn, can you hear me now? Glenn?
Barely. It's not coming through as far as wireless or through the Zoom app. So,
Okay. Okay, one moment, please.
okay.
I heard that.
Thank you, Rennis. This is Susan Phillips, and I was just wondering, are we using Matt Hodges or AEW as our city engineer, or both? And Matt's doing a great job, it's just a question. Thank you.
Did you get that, Glenn?
I did hear that. That I
Outstanding.
heard.
Good save there, Mr. Nushai.
Thank you, Rennis.
Okay.
Anybody else for public comment for items on the agenda?
Madam Mayor, there is a phone caller in the virtual meeting. If you'd like to speak and you're on the virtual meeting and your last four digits are 8635, feel free to press *6 to unmute your line.
We'll give it a second, because as I learned, it sometimes takes a moment. Did they raise their hand, Ken, or
No, I was
just giving them the opportunity?
I was guiding them
Okay.
right to unmuting if they would like to speak, since they're the only caller in the
Okay.
meeting. But apparently, they would not like to speak. Again, caller in the meeting, if you would like to speak, you just need to press *6 on your keypad.
All right, I don't see anybody turning off their microphone to speak, so, and anybody else in the audience? All right, we will close public comment for items on the agenda. Then next is consideration of approving the consent agenda, less item 7D, which you're going to bring back with the amendment to it. So that would include the special city council meeting minutes of July 14th, regular city council July 20th, special city council of July 26th, appointment of Sam Fitzer to Planning Commission for the unexpired term of Mr. Shepherd to expire December 31st, 2021. Whatever. List of bills presented in the amount of $240,975, and department reports for the month of July 2021. That would need a motion. Let me just say I motion that so no one has to read that over.
Just very quickly, If I have questions on the bills, do I have to do it now or wait until we approve it?
Take it off.
You gotta take it off, because you can't quite, the whole point of consent is you don't question, you can't talk about it.
Okay.
It just goes.
But we could take it off.
Take the bills off.
I just made a motion to accept the consent agenda
Oh,
as presented. It can not be seconded and someone can make a different motion.
okay.
So have I had a second yet?
I'll second that.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'll amend the motion
Well,
to take
yes.
the bills off. If I can get a second.
Second.
Well, I think Mr. Shepherd would have to second that.
Yeah.
I can recant or rescind my second.
Okay.
So with no second, 1, 2, 3, okay. New motion. Approve the consent agenda, items 7A, B, C, E, and G.
I'll second that.
We will move the list of, any questions you have, we'll move that to the unfinished business. Is that okay? Mr. Georges? Yeah, okay. All right. Any discussion on that? Can we go ahead and vote that out?
Oh, you don't even have to. If someone wants something off the consent agenda, they just ask.
No, we have to vote, we have to approve the consent agenda, the rest of it.
Approve without the bills. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. So that's the original motion.
7A, B, C, D,
Right.
I'm sorry, nope, 7A, B, C, E, and G.
Right.
Approve
I do
on
have
the
a
consent
question.
agenda. Oh, my God.
Okay.
The question is, them two that are the same, they're the same words, but the 20th, one says the 26th, one says the 29th, but they're identical that were in our package?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I'm just
That's what I
looking at
thought
the agenda.
Councilmember Moffett was talking about.
Yeah. We can, if there was the wrong one was included or something, we can fix that. That's easy to
Okay.
do. So where we're at, we're just vote to remove the bills. Councilmember Moffett,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Did you say motion
This is
Oh, yes.
Approve it
to
with,
remove.
yes.
Yeah.
yes?
Yes, didn't hear. Okay. Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Okay. Bills are at the end of new business.
Glenn, are you able to turn your video on, or are you choosing not to?
I am not in a position to do that.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure you knew you had the option. That's all.
Oh, yeah, no, I did. I think I may lose the Wi-Fi if I do that. so-
Okay,
so.
all right. Just want to make sure, that's all. All right,
Yep.
then, next on the agenda, we have public hearings, none. So, no public hearings. We have new business. First item on the agenda is consideration of approving a Headley Amendment millage proposal for submission to the electorate at the November 2nd, 2021 election. So if someone wants to make a motion, or not. All right, no motion, then we'll move on. Oh,
Go ahead and move on.
move on to 10B. Consideration of the introduction and first reading of an ordinance to amend the City of Clawson Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Article 10, Division 1, Section 34-481, Division 4, Section 34-603, Division 19, Section 34-1034, Division 25, seriously, Section 34-1200.3, Division 26, Section 34-1200.12, and Division 27, Section 34-1200.22 to update landscaping regulations.
Let me take that off.
So moved as
You know, I was
presented.
gonna say, so moved?
So moved as presented.
Second.
Second.
Come on up. No, I come on up. Because we might have questions. Because I know that Mr. Georges and I know that Mr. Shepherd
Yes.
were obviously involved, but nonetheless, you are here for something else, so let's use you while we can.
I am at your disposal, happy to answer any questions that you might have. I can start just by introducing the topic. This was the result of part of our 2019 zoning ordinance audit This was one of the areas in which we identified some improvements could be needed. I will say it was largely championed by Mr. Shepherd, and so if there's specifics related to specific items in here,
Like my 2 questions?
like your 2 questions,
Yay, glad you're
I think
here.
that I would defer to him because we've done a lot of research on it. But
You.
yes.
Yes. So could you just summarize, because not everybody's going to
Yes,
have a
so-
chance to read, so just for everybody.
Right, we added a couple of definitions, a definition of greenbelt and street frontage. Those were both used in the ordinance language, but not defined. So we wanted to make sure that people understood what that was, including specifications and requirements for a landscape plan, so that folks know what is expected when they submit a landscape plan. And this is all part of site plan review. So this is when there's a project that requires site plan approval and it goes to the Planning Commission. The landscape plan is a required item, and now we're being very clear and specific about what's required in there. We also added a new intent statement and just sort of fleshed out a little bit more of the details about the landscaping, the different types of landscaping, and we added some graphics. One of the things that we added as a supplement is a several-page landscaping guidelines document that includes some more graphics about proper planting, and then additional recommendations on tree species that aren't included in ordinance language. And that gives us the ability to change them out as needed. And so that's what's included.
When the thing that you guys are doing, I totally lost the name of it, that's part of what's going to be in there? Like you'd be able to visually see some of that?
Oh, the clear zoning
Thank you.
ordinance? Yes, yes. Those
This is
graphics will
one of those
be
things that would-
improved
cool.
and added into the document as well. So it'll all be included in the whole new ordinance.
I'll go last. Any questions? For Mr. Shepherd or Ms. Baum or Mr. Georges, since they were deeply involved?
No, I'm good. If them guys are on and they did it, I'm pretty sure it's pretty in-depth.
Councilmember Moffett? Nope. Well, George, did you have any questions of yourself? No. Okay. Well, Mr. Shepherd, because there's not a chance I would let you get away without the opportunity to talk about trees,
Sure.
I have 2 questions.
Well, sure, go ahead.
Question number 1, why not the pawpaw? Because it's a native. And all right, let's just do question number 1 first. And you're only allowed to say a few words about trees, so make it short.
Fair enough.
So why? Why no pawpaw if it's a native? Because it's on the forbidden tree list.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's considered to be invasive. Is that what you're asking, as far as it being on the invasive list, or a tree that we should incorporate as a landscape use?
I believe
Yeah.
you have it on the
It's-
forbidden tree list.
It's listed, it's number 10 on page 8 of the ordinance
It's 10?
packet.
And I'm not against it. I'm
No.
not arguing. I'm just
Yeah.
curious
Right. It
as to the
seems
reason.
like-
Well,
it's maybe-
what I would say, so what this is for, right, so for site plans, for consideration for approval through planning, and also for right-of-way.
Oh, so
The
not for
problem with pawpaw is
residential. Okay.
No.
So that's I guess what I was not catching on. Okay.
Just related to site plan review.
Then
And
having
those
said that-
truly are not appropriate in like a
Right, I would
right-of-way or
agree.
that kind of area.
But then having said that,
Mm-hmm.
why would the mulberry tree not be on there? Because those buggers shouldn't be in any right of way either.
Mulberry is
Those
number
dirty, rotten little things that.
18.
It is 18?
It is.
Oh, then I
Oh.
missed it. Okay.
It may be called under its, the binomial nomenclature, by the Linnaean term.
Would you like to
But,
drop that word for us?
So basically, there's common names for trees and common names for plants a lot of times, but you probably should stick to what the scientific term is, just to make sure that we're talking about the right thing.
Of
Right?
course.
Somebody could say a black-eyed Susan here, and it's something completely different when it comes to the scientific taxonomical name. But yeah, as far as, there's invasive species and things that we recommended that are native, and certainly that, as far as the consideration for right-of-way species, that was one that we wanted to make sure that we, took consideration for. But at the same time, there may be others that
No,
some
that's
people may
fine. I
consider
just,
to be.
now I understand it was
nuisances,
for that.
so,
I thought they were also for residences too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not that I want a mulberry, but, so that makes
No,
more
but
sense.
it's also, it should be used as a guide, right, for anyone who's coming in and seeking as far as some type of advice. If they don't have an expert landscape, we have recommendations that are in the ordinance. And one thing we wanted to make, kind of highlight was the Acer species. And I've mentioned it before, the fact that we have far too many
Too many maples.
in the public water. Yes, we're sitting on an ecological time bomb with about 75% of our trees being Acer species. So what we're trying to say is that any new development, while you may come in and present with maple species on your, we're trying to create a moratorium to limit the use of new maple trees. So, but that's also indicated in the ordinance.
Well, I think you guys did a great job on it. I'm
Good.
glad you put that on there, and it was about time, because there was
Yes.
many conversations over and over.
Yes.
We begged for it.
So hopefully it'll improve that and make it more clear what the city is requiring.
I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everybody, I said no. Do you want a roll call vote that?
You ready?
Chuck?
Mayor Sampson? I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Have fun. It's fine.
Yes.
We'll change
Speaking
seats.
last
I'm
week.
down with that.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilman Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Passes.
Outstanding, and hey, look at that. You're standing here. Perfect.
That
Next
was
item
nice.
on the
Thank you.
agenda is
Appreciate
looking
that.
at the proposal to prepare the capital improvement plan from Giffords and Webster. Propose away.
All right. As a follow-up to the joint meeting that we had
A while ago.
We talked about the importance of capital improvement planning and the holistic approach that we recommend the city begin undertaking to prepare these for the future. And so the proposal is to facilitate that process and then allow the city staff to be able to do that on their own then in subsequent years. So we walk you through it the first time. Likely we might have to help you out again next year just until everybody gets up to speed with what's required. And so that's involving assembling the team, meeting with the team, talking about projects, ranking the projects, explaining that whole process, and then preparing the report that would also include the dashboard. And I don't know if anybody had a chance to click on that link that was in the proposal, but it's an interactive dashboard that would allow the community to be able to tap into the different projects in different parts of the city and then begin to understand a little bit, hopefully, about the needs of the community in terms of its long-range capital plans, the expenses associated with that, and the timelines associated with it. The benefit of doing the capital improvement plan in a forum like this, like through the public hearing process at the Planning Commission, is really to be able to demonstrate to the community that we have needs and that we're planning for them and that we're trying to fund them as best we can. But there will be times where we can't fund everything when we want to, and then we'll have to be looking for alternative sources. But it's really a helpful tool to be able to understand that because we pull in the master plan, we include the recreation plan, we talk about the asset management plan. So all of those things are assembled in this one place to help people understand what's going on in the future.
And if I may, and the only reason I didn't call for the motion first is because I wanted to make sure you members, even though I think they were there for that meeting. So if I'm clear on this, when you say facilitate, you're talking about facilitating Planning Commission.
Yes. And assembling the team as
right.
well. Yeah, right.
And when you said working with staff so they could take it over, meaning that staff could then facilitate that in
Right.
the future.
Right.
So we didn't have to continue
Right.
to outsource that, or if we
Right,
did,
we
it was
wouldn't
for
have to, you
smaller
wouldn't have to have us
portions.
do it that every year, exactly.
Right. And then, if I'm understanding a capital improvement plan, that is different, although eventually gets incorporated with an infrastructure plan, which would be more along the lines of what AEW would have talked about tonight, which would be our roads,
Right,
that type
that's
of
a
stuff.
component of the capital improvement plan, but the capital improvement plan not only includes those kinds of improvements, the water, the sewer, the roads, but also includes public buildings. It might include vehicles. It might include park improvements or other capital outlays of over $5,000. But it really allows, everybody's got their own their own projects that they think are important, and they are important. But some of them may be more important than others because some of them, for example, could be federally mandated, or could be state mandated, or it could be
Such
something.
as our water lead lines.
Exactly. Or it could be something that is going to improve maintenance and cost realization over a period of time. So it's good to do it now because it's going to save us money down the road. But for other departments to hear that is really helpful. And then to be able to explain that in a public setting, why some things are prioritized over others, is also helpful. And it helps you in your decision-making and your budget setting each year as well. Because
And
the
your
first year
dash-
of that plan becomes your operating budget.
And your dashboard and some of the other, that is how you engage the community in that
Right,
too.
right. Because
Perfect.
spreadsheets are really, I mean, some people find them intriguing and exciting,
Are you
but,
just mocking me on that
but
one?
no. But,
You know I love
it's all the
spreadsheets.
data's
You know I
there,
love
all the data's there, but it's
I love
hard to
spreadsheets.
pick that out and really understand what it all means. And so we try to explain that in a more clear way.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion. If we have any other questions, we can ask, but I just want to make sure we all had that context. Again, yeah. So where am I anyways? Oh, yes, consideration. So I would ask for a motion, consideration of approving the proposal from Giffords Webster to prepare a capital improvement plan. No? Yeah.
Mayor, I move that the proposal from Giffords Webster be prepared, prepare a capital improvement plan, CIP, to be approved.
To approve them doing the proposal,
Yep.
or their proposal?
What do you,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll second it.
All right, any other questions?
Now, when would you start the planning?
We would probably start in September, October,
I like that.
because we want to have it done in time for your budget
Me too.
planning process next year.
Thank you.
And be it done before that, so.
I have a question. I see a price tag of $13,930 on this. How is that accounted for in the budget? How are we paying for that?
Well, she's not going to know that, but.
No, but I see Kelly sitting there.
Ah.
Step aside here for you.
Right now, I don't have the budget in front of me, but it would be in the planning department.
So there's, in the planning department, you have funds for projects like this?
There are several projects, yes, and if not, we would bring a budget amendment to council.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, that's what I would have said, is that I don't believe we've appropriated for this yet. We can approve the proposal. We have a whole bunch of budget amendments that should have already been in front of us, so I would assume that would be in that package for us to appropriate. But how much, if we approve it, we do have what? How much time before that would expire, your proposal?
Well, we would.
Soon. I mean, not
It's not,
expire.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
didn't
not
think
like
so.
the clock's ticking.
But you want to get started on it.
We'd like to.
Yes.
You know, at least, like I said, September, October would be a great time to do it. We can if we started in November, but it gets
No, that's
rushed.
it. I
And
like
when
that.
people are doing it for the first time, and we know, like in the communities that we've worked with, sometimes everybody's busy with like their day-to-day stuff, and thinking long-term can sometimes take a little bit more brain energy. And so we like to give folks enough time to be able to think through those things.
Well, and I'd also like to get you another planning member.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, so,
we're
I mean,
not
we don't
full,
have to do
yeah.
it, we don't have to start tomorrow or anything, so it's fine.
Any, no?
Good.
Anything else, Councilmember Moffett? No. Roll call vote?
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd,
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
even ask you, Glenn, I'm sorry. See, when I can't see your face, did you have
No,
anything
it's
to
fine.
ask?
As far as the timeline, I think we addressed that, right?
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that they're busy with at the moment. So from what I heard, or could barely make out, I think the timeline fits as far as what's appropriate.
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Baum, very much for coming in and covering both of those. All right, I believe we removed item D. And just a reminder, if anybody has anything as they looked through it, if they just want to flip those to Mr. Nushai, any concerns? I think a couple of us might have already done that. And then next on the agenda would be consideration of approving the bid proposal for information technology professional services. And that's the one that we approved the RFP for and the bids have all come in, right? And this
That's
is-
correct.
Okay.
There was 15 that came in total.
Okay. Do you want to do a motion or do you want to have Mr. Smith explain first? Either way.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Can we defer that one until we talk with this Yo and Yo CPA?
These are separate and distinct RFPs.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, okay, but again, like, what I would like to do is to talk to Yo and Yo first, okay, and then come back to this.
Because Yo and Yo offer IT services.
And the reason I'm asking this is if you read if you looked at the little video from Yo and Yo, okay, they have an IT service also,
Oh,
okay? And the thought that I had, if we're gonna have auditors in here running around looking at stuff, is to have their IT department evaluate what our real needs are, okay? Versus bringing in a already assumed company that's gonna just start rebuilding everything, okay? Because we really don't have a plan.
Is that in the form of a motion to delay until we
I can make it a motion to delay, okay?
bring an auditing group in?
until we
Right.
ch-
Okay, now,
Well, no, you're saying until we talked.
I'm sorry?
You're saying until we talked to Yo and Yo today.
yeah, but are they here today?
I believe we do have, yes.
Yes, she is on.
There you go.
We said we do, so.
Okay.
If what you're really asking is, can we just reverse those two items real quick and then come back to that?
Very
We can do that.
quickly.
And then we can motion to do something else if you want, but
Okay.
can we just agree to do that?
Yeah.
I agree to flip
As
it.
they say, I'm learning.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Yes. So in that case, we'll make E, F, F, E, and now where'd she go? She moved up to the top. Oh, I hate that thing. Hi.
Hello.
You were there, now you're there. Okay, so next item on the agenda is consideration of approving the bid proposal for professional auditing services. Do you want a motion or do you want to ask a question first?
Motion first.
Motion first, make it. Somebody make it. All right, I motion that we consider approving the bid proposal for professional auditing services.
I'll second it.
All right. Now, I don't even have I have to get down to it. Did you want to launch us with saying anything, or do you want to just launch you with questions?
You can fire away if you want. I know I submitted a proposal, so that has all of the detailed information that was requested from us from the RFP. And if you want to just fire away some questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
And I apologize because I do not have this called up. I am name blank right now. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, no problem. My name is Jamie Rivette, and I'm an audit principal with Yo and Yo CPAs.
All right, thank you.
And where are you located?
We have 8 offices throughout Michigan, and I actually sit in our Saginaw office. I lead our government services team for our firm, but we put together the best team available. Doesn't matter where the employees sit. We have a specialized government team, and we pull from all of our offices. So our closest office to you would be our Auburn Hills office.
I have a couple questions. Do you have a couple questions, Mr.
Yeah,
Georges?
no,
No, you can go ahead, because I'm flipping to it, so
Oh,
why don't
okay.
you go ahead?
The question I had is, in the video presentation, I believe you mentioned about your IT capabilities. Can you expand on that?
Sure. We actually have a separate entity. It's called Yo and Yo Computer Consulting, and it's a whole separate team. They have a president, but they are an affiliate of our CPA side. I do not specialize in that piece of it. It would be a separate team. But I heard your question earlier and some of the items that you brought up, and that would be something that I could put you in contact with, somebody from that entity and that department to answer some of those specific questions. That's not my area of expertise, is auditing government entities, not the IT side.
Anything else? Questions for her?
Yeah. Okay, how long would it take to just quickly go through with them on reviewing our systems here?
I can give you a contact name and number. I can relay that to Mr. Smith and see if he can get that information to the correct people on council, and they can reach out to you tomorrow and answer your questions. I don't know their schedule or timeline, but I know they're pretty efficient and would do what they could to get on site and give you an evaluation.
Okay. Can you just give us a brief little description of what they can accomplish for us?
I know they do evaluation of your cybersecurity processes. They would also evaluate what you have for backup with any of your, especially your financial information, making sure it is being backed up in secure location. If you ever had an issue where it went down, that you would have backup available, making sure it's tested. Those are some of the things off the top of my head that I know that they could do. Like I mentioned, that's not really my area. It's a total separate entity, but I do know cybersecurity is huge. You see in the news a lot right now of, municipalities, schools, all kinds of nonprofit organizations too, clicking on links that they shouldn't be, and then their information is being held hostage from them. So that is something they spend a lot of time on, is the secure location and making sure you have proper backups.
Can you forward us the contact person?
Sure. Yep, I sure can.
Okay. At this point, okay, I would like to delay, okay?
What? We'll finish this and
All right, I'm
we'll
sorry.
get to that. We will.
Okay.
Yes, because we moved it on the agenda. Anything else on the audit proposal? The RFP?
No,
What they've.
I thought it was a good presentation. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, no other questions for
No.
Jamie?
No.
Okay.
No.
Mr. Sampson?
No questions.
Councilman Moffett? Nope. I do have a few. Of course I do. So one of the questions I have is, and I know obviously when you're responding to an RFP like this, you're not going to have the deep knowledge. Our DDA is very small. Very small number of transactions handled here, not separately. And if you were to find that it was a very simple, because it really is, endeavor, is 3,000, does that maybe get shifted or gone, or because that would be quite high for our DDA?
Well, we'd have to see. I know setting up the information takes a while. We still have to have the footnotes, the financial statements, and prepare everything just like we're doing a regular audit, because we are issuing a separate report. We could take a look at that.
Have we been off issuing a separate report before? We don't.
Oh, no separate report? It's just included in with your...
Yes, ma'am. It's a component unit, but we include it with, yes, ma'am. It's not a separate, no.
Okay, sorry. I was under the understanding that it was...
Because I figured you might
separate-
not know. Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, a separate report. Okay. Yeah, we could discuss that and probably lower that now that I know that information. I would definitely be open to discussing that.
That's all. I just wanted to make sure we could, because I had a feeling you might not know that. I'm guessing the single audit, as we all know, is going to be, because we've never done that, it's ARA and... Yeah.
Right.
And really, my question on that's a little bigger. I'm quite sure that there's a lot of communities out there that have not had to do that before under the circumstances. So are you kind of taking once you figure out exactly what they're looking for, you can kind of plug that into most, because it is limited in what it can be used for. Okay, so, because honestly, I was almost thinking that was low, just because it is, especially for someone who hasn't done one before.
Yeah, no, we do a lot of them, and we have a template set up. We have a little bit, we call it our little cheat sheet that we supply to our clients that says what information you need. So with federal funds, the feds are very strict on the compliance. So it's either, there's no gray area. You either have the policy that's requested or you don't. And each grant actually has their own separate list of rules. We're actually waiting on the compliance supplement right right now from the feds, so I don't even have some of that information to share with you. But yes, we have an assistance list specifically set up for each grant that we would provide to your finance department ahead of time.
Perfect. I kind of figured it, but that's excellent. Thank you. And actually, I don't think I had any. Did you have any questions for us on the fee schedule? Is actually a rather important. Did you have any questions for us on what we might have been looking for there?
I did ask Kelly Rao a question on that because I wasn't sure if it was just a water sewer kind of rate study. So she did explain to me that it's every fee that you charge is to examine those. So without looking at them and seeing how much information we had or how many rates there were going to be, it was hard for me just to toss a number out there. But we definitely don't want any surprises. We would communicate that rate or fee ahead of time and make sure that we are in agreement on what's expected, what are your expectations, and then what the, a fee would be that is fair for everybody.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, I think that's all I had. We have a motion and we have a second.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes,
We have an auditing firm.
thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks.
And Glenn, you're just going to jump in there, right? Because you're way up there, and if you have something.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any questions on that. I saw the fee schedule.
Perfect. All right. I gotcha. All right. So then we reversed by agreement. Let me get back up there because it's way up here. We reversed by agreement the conversation on the IT.
You want the page?
I know, it's all right, because I wanted to see the rest of it. And so I believe they're proposing a motion to look at the firm that Mr. Smith suggested, and I believe you are going to suggest a different motion, so please feel free.
I just wanted to bring up a motion, that we establish an ad hoc audit committee.
Oh, we're not doing the next one yet. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. When we get to the end of new business, I'll ask if there's any other new business.
Okay.
Let's do that. But then let's go to your other.
Okay, what I'd like to do is delay the presentation until we talk with the auditors on the IT. Okay, to take a look to see if they have, in other words, what's the cost to have them come in and take a look at it? So we have a starting document that we can work with. Okay, then, have somebody quote it out.
And I'm going to defer because IT is not my super strong suit. And I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm legitimately asking. Did we do any kind of assessment before? I know we approved an RFP, but did we do an assessment of what we'd need before it was put out? What was it that we?
It was pretty much what everybody thought. There was really no assessment. Each player came in and they're probably assessing it at what they think we should do. But this is a great idea to actually have somebody go in our system, really look at it and say, you don't have this kind of software. You could be vulnerable here. Your server and everything's right in this one room. You could be taken out in one flood, and have an audit done like that. And that would be back and reviewed again by the people who bid to give us. Because what we're bid on was the services that keeping it for the future. And there's going to be a whole bunch of corrections we got to do, new servers, new racks. We got to move it to a room. We got to put I don't really see where all that piecemeal money is in a bid.
So I have a question then. I thought, and it might not have ever happened, plus I think we were still under COVID close. Mr. Smith, I thought the proposal allowed for any of the people bidding to come in?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Did anybody choose to come in and look?
Yes. Nick directed quite a few companies around, and they looked at all of our systems. They looked at our server. They took all the notes of the things that we do. They asked questions about, he provided a lot of questions on what software we have, what all the different things that we utilize. So they were all aware of that.
Yeah, but did they actually come back and make any suggestions for maybe, or did they?
Yes, while they were present, they did suggest things. They were suggesting
But
some.
nothing-
But is
Nothing
it,
in writing,
is
no.
it in a bid? I don't think it's in a bid.
I don't believe so.
That's why I think this would be a great idea to have it audited, and then we'll know that we got to move things and do things.
I'm going to allow, because I saw the gentleman raising his hand and I believe he's here, so go ahead. I'll allow, yes.
If I could, I might be able to save a lot of time and confusion and probably a lot of money. I'm Tom Conway. I'm the senior account manager for IT Right that the RFP was approved. And in our onboarding process of any new client, we only manage about 700 municipalities across the state of Michigan. And for every single client, we provide a full security audit, a full infrastructure audit, and the state recommended CIS benchmarks and security audits for controls. All of those are done at no cost to you.
Before you start actually doing work or buying stuff or changing stuff?
Right. So what we do is we start managing the backup, all of the security, anti-ransomware software is installed on every machine. And we take the time to develop a set of audit reports for you, for council to review, with a set of recommendations based on, everything's based on a 4-year cycle, except for servers, which are on a 5 to 6 year cycle.
Okay.
And we present that as an IT plan to move forward. And it's not that, I'm not saying that there are things that don't need to be done, but we need a plan to put all of that together before we start saying it's going to cost all this. And you would know what any of those hardware costs would be. You would get that upfront before we would do any work like that.
So to Mr. George's point, and I understand what he's looking for, because I guess I'm not, if it was in here, I apologize because I missed that too. So what I hear you saying is that you do an assessment and...
Correct. And we put that plan together prior to...
Is that kind of what the one-time fee is? And then it goes into the...
That's the onboarding fee, correct.
Okay, and that is something that comes to council before anything happens, because it probably would include budget amendments anyways. And then it's going to come with recommendations of stuff we need to buy outside of what you... Right?
Correct.
And so explain the 49,000 annual then. I mean, I'm not questioning, I'm just explaining it so I understand.
Sure. So the service contract bundle includes a lot of things. It includes all of your security software and updates, all of the Windows updates, all of your help desk. It is unlimited help desk. So it doesn't matter who calls for what problem they're having, it's going to get resolved and it's not going to be a billable event.
What's the hours you're going to be open?
We are open, our help desk is open 8 to 5. We do have someone on call until 11 o'clock at night. We have a call service that runs from 11 o'clock at night until 8 o'clock in the morning. But we are looking at hiring a person right now to man the help desk overnight that lives in Hawaii. So the time difference is going to really help us. That has not been announced yet, but we do have 24/7 coverage with the call center.
What's your closest technician to us?
If we determine that something cannot be fixed remotely, we have technicians in the area that we would dispatch on site. We dispatch out of Lansing. However, we have technicians that live all across the state. And the on-site time for those are not billable either. You would not get a bill for anything unless it's an over 8-hour project, and you would know the cost of that ahead of time. So for example, if a server needed replaced, we would quote you the hardware and the labor to install that hardware prior to the project so that you get a chance to review it and approve it at council before doing any of the work.
Excuse me, did your company come down and do an evaluation when you did a walkthrough?
Microphone.
The RFP explained enough that we didn't need to.
Use the mic.
I'm sorry. Okay, say that again.
So being an IT company that manages as many government agencies and
I understand.
municipalities that we
Okay,
do.
listen, here, I understand how many you do. I read your list. I went through all the cities. They seem to be up north. I counted 5 or 6 in this area, all right? The concern I have is Windows, okay, is upgrading to Windows quote-unquote 11, all right? And there's a problem with the old hardware, okay? There's a, off the top of my head, I don't remember, but there's a little switch in there. If your computer can't switch to the security system that Windows wants or Microsoft wants, then you have to buy new equipment. And the question I have, has anybody looked at our equipment to see, okay, when Windows 11 hits in the next 5-6 months, okay, are we going to have a problem?
No, because Windows 10 is going to be supported for the next 5 or 6 years. And so there's not going to be a rush to move everyone to 11. We're not going to recommend that right out of the gate. So there you're assuming that we're going to move everything to Windows 11 right away, and we're not.
Well, I'm assuming when you looked at our stuff, you figured out that for some reason that I have never been able to fathom, people just run up to the Microsoft place or the Micro Center and buy whatever personal computer they think is going to work instead of considering how it connects to IT and how it's supposed to do better security when it's a business and all that stuff, network software. So I don't think any of our computer software is even right as it is right now. I don't know if you knew that, but oh yeah, there's no system for
That's a
buying computers in
possibility.
this place.
However, that's part of the onboarding process, is to put together that plan and how we want to get everything into a specific standard.
Because we are not standardized.
No, I understand that. That's why I would prefer to have a outside auditor, their firm, come in and do the evaluation. Okay, then they can give them a list saying, okay, here's what we have to do. Here's the equipment that they're gonna need. And you're gonna find out right then and there, okay, what's good and what's bad.
Well, and I'm
Their
not again, I
internal
understand what you're saying.
standards may be different from ours.
I'm sorry?
Their standards may be different than ours. We're going off of state CIS standards.
Well, that's something we just asked for, to tell them to go off for that standard.
I have a question of Rennis. Isn't the running of the RFP and how the RFP is conducted under the purview of the city manager?
Obviously, council ultimately determines, but typically that's been.
Turn that on.
You're not.
We can't hear you either, yes.
So wary of hot mic issues, I'm keeping the mic off. Thank you. Ordinarily, that's how we've done it. Obviously, over the years, that's been the standard. Council gives a general direction, and then the administration, city manager takes it over and deals with the nuances of it. You can give. Obviously, council is free to engage in any capacity that it wishes, but you can limit yourself to the general thought process, and then allow administration to come back with the specifics of it. So I presume Mike will be able to do the research behind it, contact everybody that's involved, and try to basically get to whatever you're seeking.
And if I'm understanding correctly, where Mr. George's is going, it's not necessarily circumventing this.
No.
It's adding a layer.
Correct.
Well, he wanted to
I'm not sure I understand
He
the
wanted to
layer.
add a company that he wanted to present a proposal, and Mike's completed the RFP process, and if there was another company folded in, it would be under Mike's purview to decide, you know, was he gonna open up the RFP process again? How is he gonna have them bid on that? I mean, he went through that process. These are the people that were interested in doing business with us.
Well,
So I'm concerned that, you know, we're trying to circumvent the work that he's done and the things that are under his responsibility. You know, I get that you have some, you know, knowledge about things that we could be concerned about, and that's certainly something to talk, you know, to the company that we ultimately choose. But Mike's responsible for the RFP process, and he's done the work. And
I think, but that was what we were trying to clarify, is I didn't see in here that we actually had an actual assessment. So I understood once we went through it, the question. I see what you're saying, but I think that's what he was saying is, I didn't understand that was part of this. That we even had an audit assessment as part of this.
Exactly.
And go ahead.
I believe that the councilman is right. If we get another person to come in and say, these are everything you need to change, then it's an easy part of a bid. You can fire it back to all the bidders and say, add this to it, now what's your bid? Because $49,000 is to take care of a bunch of old stuff. When they get in here and they say, you gotta replace so much, if they knew about it today, they'd say, we could sell these computers to you. All of them could give us prices on computers and everything.
Okay, wait.
If they're gonna manage it, they're gonna need to know what we got.
Okay, time out. Question number 1 is, was there an assessment done of our needs?
No.
This response was no, not yet. You looked at it, but that's part of this proposal. That's question and answer number 1, correct? Fact number 1 is that whatever opinion or agree or disagree, I suspect that such an assessment, if his price was $4,000 coming in, it's probably around there, that would require us to then go out for another bid for that component. We can't just ask Yo and Yo to do it.
I understand that, okay.
So, but I just want to make sure you did. I wasn't sure. So we understand that it wasn't done. It's part of this. I didn't think I heard you say that the $49,000 included actual hardware. What I thought I understood you saying is that you would be recommending hardware and certain things, and then that $49,000 included making it all work and then maintaining it with support. And
Yes.
setting up a plan where we buy things on a regular basis so we are constantly updated and not, right? Something like that?
Correct. There are a lot of other things included in that 49,000.
And that would be like security assessment and all that stuff like Mr. George was talking about?
Security assessments, infrastructure assessments, the Center for Internet Security, benchmarks and controls, end user security training and testing, remote backup, budgeting and planning, technical alignment management.
And let me just interrupt. Is there any software included in that 49,000? It's just a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, which elements of software are you putting in there?
All of your anti-ransomware, our management software, monitoring software, antivirus, intrusion detection.
What kind of antivirus you talking about?
We use a special antivirus that does all of your anti-ransomware, antivirus, and anti-malware all in one. It monitors real time and gives us threat assessments based on that.
Can I ask, since you did walk through and look at what we have, don't have, mess we have, what in your head, were you thinking, you had to have had an idea of how much it would cost to do the hardware, the questions we're asking, the reconfiguration, it's not included in here. Do you have, I recognize that's not what you're bidding on, but you're the expert. Did you have something in your, where you kind of thought, well, this is probably what that's going to cost the city for that part?
Well, to be honest, we didn't come in and do a physical assessment. We base everything on the number of computers and servers, and it doesn't matter what brand or style it is, we're going to manage it. Make sure that it's secure and up to date.
You were never on site?
And no, and then as part of that plan, when we come to onboard, then we put together that full plan.
Can I ask, I forget the gentleman who's speaking's name. I didn't catch it.
Tom.
Tom, I have a question for you. If we had company ABC come in and do a physical assessment.
Correct.
I mean, my understanding, and I'm, it's not my area of expertise, but it's not a finite science, right? Any company that would get the ultimate contract is going to want to do things within the way their company does things. You just mentioned you had an antivirus software and you didn't mention the name, so it's either your proprietary thing or it's something that you use. You might use one, another company might use another. So from where I'm sitting, it doesn't make sense to have one company come in and do an assessment and then ask another company to carry out the work that needs to be done. I got to think that whoever does the assessment is going to say they need to do things within, their opinion. And it could be there's a million ways that we can skin the cat. The ultimate contract is going to choose how the cat's skinned. How you skin it?
Right.
But
I understand, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't the RFP include an assessment? I thought it did.
And a walkthrough.
And I mean, I know that was but I thought it included an assessment, that was part of what we asked for in order to know, because I thought I remember that conversation where, in fact, I've said before, we have a hodgepodge mess and is for someone to look. So didn't that include that, the RFP?
That's what I thought the $4,000 that Mr. Conway is just talking about, is the onboarding. That is where he's doing the assessment.
Correct.
But there's no physical assessment that's been done, okay, that he can sit and talk about right now.
He's never on site.
Because he hasn't been on site.
Yeah, he's desktoped it.
So they have to come in and look at your equipment, okay, to know what your problems are.
And that's what the onboarding is. That's the assessment portion.
That's $4,000, correct?
But here's my question, and I guess this is, thank you for the question, because I had thought something had been done.
No, the question is, if it's
No, I had
$4,000
thought that was I thought that would already been done. So my question is that to me, that was a two-step process, and I guess no matter whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever we end up learning would then maybe potentially change some of the recommendations or whatever. Otherwise, I guess I just don't understand.
Well,
if they've never been on here, once they get on site, I can tell you a ton of recommendations they're going to have for us, including put them in racks. I mean, some of this stuff's piled in a corner. We got everything from an Avvo pad to, I'm surprised we don't have any 386s still left. We got old stuff and new stuff, and you can't conduct this from a desktop. You got to be on site.
If I may, I've got a question as far as the support for any city-specific applications. I think we have a couple of those, do we not? I don't remember what they are.
You mean like BSNA or something?
Something like that.
Or Glenn, do you mean BSNA or something? Is that what you're talking about? Like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, as far as whether or not they will be able to provide that support, or do we have to go to the vendor who we got those from initially? And whether or not any of that is compatible with what you're recommending or changing in the future.
Well, actually, they used to be tied to BSNA.
Yeah, Councilman Shepherd, to address that, we are the authorized support company for BSNA. So if you call BSNA with an issue and their help desk cannot fix it, and they have to send someone on site, they send us. So our owner and one of the owners at BSNA are brothers. And we've done their support for 20 years.
Gotcha. So as far as support, having, how does that work? As far as if there's a technical issue or software problem, is there some system as far as issuing tickets, tracking tickets, closure, finding out how quickly those tickets are closed, to what degree they were closed, who they were assigned to, those types of things? And would there be one specific person initially signed for a period of time that would address our needs, or would they be whomever is in the area at that particular time?
We do use a full ticketing system called Autotask. So we can track, who's having issues and how long the tickets stay open, when they get closed. We can provide monthly reports on that. You would be assigned a technical alignment manager, Ken Young, who lives in, I believe, Oregon. You would have him assigned directly to your account, as well as myself. For any non-technical issues, you would get a hold of me. I have a business background, so I would be putting together plans with Ken and budgets and helping with that part of it. And then Ken would be bringing everything into standard and running all of the reports. As far as the infrastructure and security reports, that's what his responsibility is.
How many technicians do you have on your staff?
About 40 right now.
You ever fly them in from other cities into Detroit?
We have several in Detroit, Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, Fowlerville. And then we dispatch out of Traverse City and Grand Rapids, as well as Lansing.
What's your guarantee on how fast they'll be here if we need them?
If we determine we need to send someone on site, it would be immediate, depending on the severity of the issue. If a server's down, they're going to come right out.
I'm going to backstep for a minute because it will play into maybe whatever the decision is here. In the memo that Mr. Smith provided, there's a comment about utilizing the net fund revenue distribution for MMRMA. I'm just going to say right now that no, you're not. That this is a budget amendment. This is something that has not been appropriated for. It is something that I said and asked multiple times before we approved a budget that I knew was flawed. And I said, why isn't this in here? Why haven't we at least budgeted something since we've already approved the RFP process? And that's an appropriation. We approve appropriations. You don't get to just go find money and decide how you're going to spend it. So there isn't going to be money until we get an amended budget to pursue this, which might add some time to whatever decision is made. Honestly, I'm still confused about the assessment part, but this, and I'm also not, I would rather have approved something that included a bigger picture of both hardware, software, the fees, the annual stuff, whatever we're talking about, with an assessment first in order to understand some of that. So, but either way, there will be a delay before this is actually funded because council will have to approve that as part of budget amendments and part of the appropriation. So, having said that, I'm still confused on this.
We got a motion. Where are we at with the motion? Got a motion?
There's nothing. You just start talking.
Oh, I thought he made it.
No, we didn't have it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I started a different one.
Oh, you did?
That's right.
All right. Well, in that case, we would, I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be up. I can't read. In that case, we would need a motion.
I'd make a motion to bring this to a workshop. Bring it to a workshop. or an ad hoc committee,
No, I don't want a committee.
so we don't, well, then we'll bore you at a workshop, it's all right.
It's fine.
What is it, workshop or committee?
Workshop. So everybody gets to know. And then we can go over the other bits too, if we want to look at them, see, and maybe have Mike take some questions back to all the vendors.
I would love to learn a little bit more as far as what we're approving on the infrastructure. I understand that it's Mike's purview. I get that. But, you know, as far as having dealt with IT in my career, one way or another, I would like to know how that is different than some of the things that I've come across that have been some pitfalls. And, you know, I certainly appreciate, is Mr. Conway, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate your presentation. I appreciate your candor as far as what you presented. That you seem very knowledgeable and have a list of clients that are very impressive. Right, but I think we need to talk about it a little bit further.
Are you supporting the workshop?
I would say I would support the workshop. I would, yes, support.
And I'm actually not trying to second guess Mr. Smith's choice on this. I'm just confused because I thought it was different. I thought what we had approved was coming in differently. So it's not the firm I'm questioning. It's not the choice and his purview to choose at all. I don't understand. It's similar to what Mr. Shepherd said. I guess I don't feel like I have as much as I thought we were going to have to know what we were deciding on. And I appreciate that you brought the concept of the audit because it got us here. I don't think it's appropriate, although you can make the motion, I'm not saying you can't, to necessarily just go ask Yo and Yo. I think I would really like to understand the bigger, not just this, but that whole thing. And then, because maybe it is a two-part process.
Right, but by talking to Yo and Yo, okay, we're talking.
Yeah, but.
We're not,
Sure.
no, we're talking, okay, and they can give us some guidance in talking without billing us. Okay?
That, true. If they're willing to chat and tell you something without, but if we do get to the point where we're looking at,
Yeah.
would have to look at by our
We can
by
ask
our
them,
policies,
we
by
can
our
ask them what the best
charter.
practices are and they can tell us.
Yes, I'm just saying if we decide to, where we would get more information, but we can't just say, great, can you do this part?
So if we move it over to a workshop, okay, we just delay the
Yes.
whole thing at this point.
Well, and it's gonna be delayed anyway because the funding isn't there. Right.
Yeah.
But it needs to get figured out. I would like to go a little further because I'd really like to understand the second part of the costs.
Well, I think, yeah, but I think, I think that the whole situation right now is, we now know that the question we have to ask when you bring somebody in is, tell us the whole story. Don't tell us just what you're going to service.
Well, it's also the fact that the $4,000 being the onboarding that'd be part of the process, right? So that at least we have an idea of what it may cost for somebody else to do initial assessment if they're not willing to have that rolled into whatever their RFP may be.
I like the idea of Yo and Yo because they don't have any skin in the game for selling us anything. They'd be.
Just do keep in mind that their standards may be different from our standards.
Right.
And that is a possibility.
And I don't think they're suggesting that I think they're saying they'd like to just hear someone else
Right.
give us a general without a whole proposal thing, but just, you wanted to ask some questions.
Yeah,
And ask if they'd come back, yeah,
And they'll have to be on site
yeah.
because you can't do this from a desk.
Well, that part, I thought there was a site visit too, so. So what's the motion again? You want a workshop on this?
Workshop.
Rescheduled within the next 3 weeks, next 3 weeks. And Glenn, you support that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You did.
Okay, we go vote.
I'm waiting if anybody had a question or a comment. No? Glenn, did I hear you say something else?
No, just as far as who would be present at the workshop and who would be presenting.
That's a very good question. Mr. Sampson, it's your motion. Who were you thinking would be at the workshop and doing what?
All the council, Mike.
Or Mr. George's?
Yeah, all the council for sure, Mike. We could have, we had top 3 vendors that they picked from, all 3 of them. You just listen to them talk about our system. Is that?
Well, I would assume if you want a workshop, you're suggesting that they actually do a site visit first,
Yeah.
an on-site physical.
On-site visit first,
which you
yeah.
just said. I don't know. I mean, so what I hear you suggesting is that you,
Bring the top 3 bidders, have them go take an on-site walk, come back and just give us suggestions at the same time.
Right, I'd still like to talk to Yo and Yo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
oh, absolutely.
And it may be directed to Mike, but a true assessment, you're not going to be able to really put together a plan just looking at equipment. Is there a way that I can load software into the network to allow us to pull reports on age of machines, CPU usage, utilization, all of
I don't
that?
think we'd want someone to do that without like a business associate agreement or something like that. That's tricky stuff.
It is. It is.
Because to put together a true plan, it's more than just looking at equipment.
I get what you're saying, right? The only way to get a true assessment of what's really going on, because you know I know enough about computers that it's what's inside, what operating systems and how they're functioning and that kind of thing. It's not what they look like, and no one's going to do that for free. And moreover, we shouldn't allow anyone into our computer systems without the proper legal protections about what they're accessing, because there's, citizens' credit cards and bank accounts and a whole plethora of things that could be dangerous. And so to that end, you're not going to get a true assessment until you take on someone who's going to be your partner in the whole project. And I think that's what Mike has done with this RFP. He's found a partner, and what this gentleman is suggesting is that he's to be our partner, and then he's going to take a full look. It's like you go and you pick a doctor, and the doctor can look at you and say, well, it looks like you got diabetes because you're fat, but I don't know if you really have it. Let's do some tests. And then they're going to charge you for the tests, right? So that's where we need to get to have anything substantive done, is we need to contract with a partner, make sure all the legal things are in place so that all of our data and our citizens' information is protected, and then go from there. You get what you pay for. Having a free assessment for people to walk around and look at your stuff isn't gonna, it's just a time delay. We need to do something substantive.
Excuse me. That's why I really believe the best practice right now is you bring in Yo and Yo, who's a disinterested party in this whole thing, and have them do an evaluation.
But to my point earlier, they're going to have a different approach than a different company is. So they can say, like, I can go to a bunch of different doctors and they're going to say, Sue, you need to lose weight. Or another doctor's going to say, hey, I'm going to put you on medicine. And then that's where my care is going to be going forward. We need to be with the partner who's going to carry us for the long run and not just give an initial opinion. And that's why we make a contract with someone who's going to do who's going to provide the care for the life of the contract.
Mr. George, I have a question.
Using your analogy of the doctor, we haven't had the doctor in to tell us that there's a problem. That's what the point I'm making. And that's why I want to bring in an outside third person, okay, to take the evaluation.
But Mr. Georges, this is what I don't understand. I don't really know if this, I don't understand why this is not an outside party at this point, because they were part of a group that was selected, so it's not like they've been here and we've been paying them and that they have a vested interest in whatever system they put in. That part I honestly don't quite understand that. And I'm just confused about, I wanted an assessment. I expected something different. I thought it was something different. I'm learning more, but I'm not sure I understand.
That's why I want to talk to Yo and Yo.
I want
to find out, okay, what they exactly do in their IT evaluations.
But they didn't apply for this RFP.
They didn't know about it.
But they could have, because.
They did not know about it.
But it's.
It was on Mitten, just like the audit, and everyone is fully aware of those systems. They applied through the Michigan Information Technology Network to do the bid for audit, and their supplier, we had a ton of people look at the system, and they never did an RFP.
Madam Mayor, this
Yo and
being
Yo,
no,
if you heard, Yo and Yo has got two segments to them. One is the audit and one is the computers. Okay? The one that responded with the audit. Okay? The computer didn't respond because he didn't know about it.
But
Madam Mayor, this being a workshop that we're setting, and Mike having heard, our city manager having heard the wishes and desires of council as far as what various council members expect, whether it be yo or the top three, or as many people as would potentially want to come and present, why don't we, I think it's reasonable that Mike would put that forth at the workshop. Leave it broad, and he will ensure, I'm sure, that council will receive whatever its wishes are.
All right. And that's generally what the motion is, that it's
Yes.
on the table is. Okay. Then that would get us to potentially,
Can we read the motion back so we know?
I think that the motion is to postpone this pending a workshop to talk to bidders.
Pending a workshop to be
Period.
designed by the city manager, period.
yep, okay,
Okay, that's kind of what I got.
okay.
Okay, so that motion is on the table and has been seconded.
Yes.
Are we voting, Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
We have another workshop.
Well, we should have been having a lot more, and then we'd have less now. All right, so we are not going to take action on this tonight as it was presented on the agenda. We've made we're having the workshop. And I assume that part of that is he was going to come back with a proposed date? You were going to?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's gonna,
All right, because
Within
he
the
did
next
not
3
say
or-
a date or anything. I know you said about within the next.
about 3 weeks.
So, yes, okay, fine. All right, so then, next on the agenda, give me yours. Oh, wait, I have one. I just turned it upside down. Yeah, that would help. As I was looking at the proposal. Oh, yes, consideration of selecting a delegate and alternate to the Southeast Michigan Community of Government, SEMCOG. I don't know who we're delegating and alternating, so who are we motioning that for?
That is up to you as the body to present. Currently,
Sweet, well, I motion that Greg Kucera is our new SEMCOG representative.
Delegate has to be an elected.
Oh, thank you for the guidance.
What was that?
I said, I wish I didn't know, I mean, it would have been easier to make the motion if we'd had.
It's included in the document. It says in parentheses.
it does.
Then make the motion.
Would you like to be, ask?
I don't.
I was this year, so if you guys wanted to, you want,
Glenn?
or do you want to do it?
Nope.
Yeah, he was asking Glenn, or I mean, he asked George and then he was asking Glenn. I don't know if Glenn heard him.
Glenn, did you hear that? Do you want to be SEMCOG alternate or?
No, I'm also, I'm on the Transportation Committee for,
There was your
another
alternate,
body
maybe
right
the SEMCOG delegate.
Who's the primary again?
I was at one time, but it'd be George to be the primary. If he wants it.
Oh, you're sticking
If he
Jordan
wants
on
it.
it.
I'll do it again.
How many meetings did you go to, Lou?
They were all, we had a pandemic, they're all online,
I know, I'm asking, how many did you go to?
about 4.
How many were there?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. Oh, man, I knew that was gonna happen.
There's probably, you could go to 20 a year, 50 a year, because they invite you to everything.
All right. Well, I'm still waiting. I said no, so I'm still waiting for someone to tell me who the,
How about Mike?
you're asking me?
I can be the alternate, but yeah, not the delegate.
I'll take
Well,
it.
I mean, let's get real. I'm not running
Oh,
for
I
office. It's
see.
asinine
Yeah, I'll take
for me to even say yes.
I'll take
So
the delegate.
it would be a waste of time.
Mike, does
So
it
then
have
the
to be
alternate could
decided
be-
now, or is it something that can wait till November?
It could wait till November. They reached out to us because they were updating their records, and they were asking who the official representatives were. And so we just, it's on the agenda.
I actually think that's a very good suggestion.
I move we wait to appoint our delegates and alternates to the South Michigan Community Governments SEMCOG until after the November 2021 elections.
So in the temporary interim, the current would be serving?
Yep.
Isn't Matt the alternate?
There is no alternate listed.
I can look at that. I think Matt was.
Do we need to have an alternate?
The alternate can be an elected or a staff member or an appointee. So I believe in your assessment, as you stated.
Matt's the alternate.
I was pretty sure that I
If
actually.
you pull up the minutes, you'll see it. Matt's the alternate. So just leave it like it is.
For now, till
For now.
till what Councilmember
Okay.
Moffett said.
I will check, because according to SEMCOG themselves, in an email I'm reading, it says, we note in our system that Lewis is the delegate and the alternate is vacant, is what they state. So we will check the minutes of August. Look at those minutes.
Matt's the alternate because he went to a meeting with me.
All right, well, double check, figure it out, and then whatever it is, we'll keep it until November.
Well, I made a motion, we need a second and a vote, right?
Oh, I thought you seconded. Oh, you didn't second? I second.
What'd you second? What's the vote?
I second Councilmember Moffat's motion that we keep it the way it is until November when we
Okay.
revisit it after the election.
It's all up to you now.
Good. Okay, so motion to postpone the selection of the delegates to November. Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilman Georges.
Yes.
See you in November.
All right, now
Where are we at?
we would have picked up your question on.
The bills from the consent is next. So.
So, Mr. Georges?
All right, the questions I have is the Core Logic centralized refunds. What are those?
I can answer that. Those are tax refunds. CoreLogic is a mortgage provider, and they pay all the property taxes for those that have mortgage under their purview. And they sent large overpayments on several properties, so we are refunding those.
All right. So we don't have to have any type of special paperwork to acknowledge the fact that the refunds are being done? We just send them out?
That is correct.
Okay. Because when I went online, okay, I found something that was signed by a city clerk, actually a township clerk, where they listed the property, the amount of money, and said that the committee, or the township committee, the township, okay, approved it, okay, then it was signed off and they sent them out.
Typically, I'm not aware that we get approval for overpayments other than putting on the list of bills.
Okay, then how do you verify the overpayment?
That's through the property tax system, and the treasurer verifies all of that.
Okay.
And if they're refunded and not overpaid, then the resident will get an unpaid tax bill, and they'll complain. So,
Okay. All right, so we just do it and let it go? There's no paperwork? That's it? All right, that's fine. All right.
Actually, you also might reach out to Stacy.
I'm sorry?
Is Ms. Rao, Stacy, she's not here tonight. Stacy Hodges, our treasurer.
Okay.
She would probably be able to give you a much more detailed answer because that is what she does all the time and not.
Then I have another question.
She would be happy to help you.
Okay, all right, I have one more question. On the, let me see if this is Stanquin, did I say that right?
I don't know, that I don't know.
Manquin Bance?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That is our-
$10,000 payment, what's that for?
What was it, 10,000?
Yes.
That is for their administrative fee, right, Mike?
We're self-insured.
Yeah, that's correct. That's our benefit consultant.
Wait, say that again?
That is our benefit consultant that handles all of our benefits.
Hospitalization, dental.
We're self-insured.
So it's $40,000 a year?
I think it's just the 10,000.
believe it's
I
10.
don't. Just 10,000 for the year? I will get back with
We'd
you.
have to get back to you with that
I'll
tomorrow.
get back with you.
Okay.
And just, maybe explain more specifically.
I can also provide you the information on the property tax refund because it's all in the system. I can pull it up.
I'd like to see that. I would.
Absolutely.
Okay.
On the property tax information, Stacy does present that paperwork to me for review and sign.
Just take a look at it.
And that was her explanation as far as that goes. So there is a paperwork trail that Stacy does provide on that.
rules. They do it all different. I'll talk to you after.
Stacy's fabulous. I mean, really, seriously, she'll sit down with you and share and explain. I mean, I've done it with her and learned a ton. So, and if there's something you notice, bring it back, for sure.
Okay.
Yes. Where was I?
We're still on new business.
Well, yeah, we did, and then,
Gotta
is
approve
there
the
any?
bills.
Approve
So-
the- yeah.
Yes, thank you. So, any more questions on the bills?
Nope.
Those two? All right, then, roll call vote.
Do we have a motion to approve the bills?
If we don't, I make a motion that we approve the bills as presented. But you need a second.
Yep.
A second.
Now roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilman Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
We're paid.
All right. Do we have any other new business that anybody would like to bring up before I move on to old unfinished business?
I have one little thing.
Yes, sir.
I would like to move that we establish an ad hoc audit committee for the city of Clawson to be composed of 3 people.
For the audit, the 2020-21 audit?
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just am trying to make, so the motion is establish an audit committee, ad hoc audit committee for the 2020-21 audit, correct?
Correct.
All right, can I have a second?
A second.
Okay, discussion.
Sounds like a great idea.
What would they be doing? What's their authority? What's their mission? What are the qualifications of the people on the committee? What are you imagining?
Here you go.
Okay, well,
But you can't, yeah.
you can't do this.
We have to read, Mr. Georges, if I may, so.
He'll read them.
Yeah,
Just
well,
hand it
okay,
out, he'll read
good.
them.
I just want them
I'm
to.
sure
Thank you.
I will
Thank
make
you.
sure, I was just gonna say, go ahead and read it.
Thank you.
And I was going to give one to the
Clerk,
clerk, so
good idea.
save
Yes.
some writing.
So, yes, Mr. Georges, thank you. Could you share with us what you've put
Okay.
for the audience?
Okay. The committee will be composed of 2 members of the city council and the Clawson city manager, as he is.
Speak into your microphone, please.
Sorry, Georgie,
Sorry.
Mr. Georges, yes.
Okay.
Here.
Wait a minute. Okay. The committee will be composed of 2 members of the City of Clawson Council and the Clawson City Manager, as he is always on all the committees by charter. If the city manager is not available for the meeting, then the city financial manager will attend. At no time will the membership of the committee be more than 3 persons, at which 2 will always be members of the city council. The powers and duties of the audit committee will include, but not be limited to, reviewing the city's financial information, the city's established systems of internal controls, and the city's audit process. Number 2, reviewing internal audit reports prepared by the financial manager. 3, review from the outside auditor the engagement letter for the audit. Number 4, reviewing reports from the outside auditor of their audit recommendations. Number 5, reviewing and adopting the annual audit engagement plan. Okay. Additional powers and duties include considering and reviewing the following with the city's outside auditors, significant audit findings during the year and management's response to them. Number 2, any obstacles encountered by the city auditor while conducting audits, including any restrictions on the scope of the auditor's work or access to required information. In addition, the audit committee annually reports its actions to the mayor and the city council with such recommendations as the committee may deem appropriate and perform such other functions as assigned by the mayor and the city council.
Great job.
Thank you for reading that. Okay, I'm going to then, Councilmember Moffett, questions?
Yep, Rennis, to what extent does this traverse the lines of responsibilities?
So I was looking while Councilmember Georges was reading. Obviously, charter says there shall be no standing committees of the council. However, this is an ad hoc committee, which means for a specific purpose. As such, it is within the purview of council to create such a committee.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
but I'm looking at the responsibilities. That's very general purposes, not a specific purpose. And to what extent are some of the things that are outlined, the things that should be directed by the city manager versus directed by members of this ad hoc committee?
That you're putting me on the spot. I'll need a little more time to be able to review it.
It's not going to be in the charter,
But,
Mr.
no, it's
Machado.
not in the
It's
charter.
going to be in the.
And that's not the question. The question is with respect to, is it, in general lines, question from Council Moffett is it within the purview of council to be able to do this?
And council should be
Yeah, and council-
entirely in control of the audit. In fact, it should be separated
finance
because
is
that is our
absolutely-
role, financial, to oversee and make sure.
But it's with respect to, the question, as I understand it, is with respect to, because I agree with you, but is with respect to the powers of this specific committee to be able to do so, given that ad hoc committees are usually specific in nature. So is it specific, I think is the question, is it specific to say that we're going to have an auditing committee that reviews all the audit? That's.
I think I would, and Mr. Georges can correct me, but based on my experience, I think what he's saying is, and I've said it before, so, is that I believe he's proposing an ad hoc committee to oversee which I thought was in the motion, oversee the 2020-21 audit, and then he was giving specifics. I would want to say, where it says annual reports, I probably would say I would prefer that to be a meeting-to-meeting report to council on the status of the audit, what's happening, where it's at, any questions that have come up, that kind of thing. So I would see that being much more reporting, but other than that, this is generally what an audit committee does. I mean, the auditor is supposed to report directly to council.
To all of council.
To all of council.
Yes,
And
but
I-
that's, I believe, yes.
I
And they
think-
ultimately would, if I'm understand, I mean, of course.
I think so, and I imagine Councilmember Moffitt's concern will be, because there's language in here with respect to, the powers and duties of the committee will include but not be limited to, that broadens it out. But so long as we remove that, perhaps Mr. Georges will limit its authority, the authority of the committee to the specifics outlined here. Maybe we can,
What if we were to let Rennis take it back and analyze it and draft up the parameters of the proposed committee and bring it back to the next meeting for review of everybody so that you're comfortable with it?
Would you be willing to pull out, will include but not limited to?
Yes, that can be taken out.
Now it's,
But what if we were giving him the opportunity to take a look at it in its entirety and make sure that there's no other concerns?
we can pass it tonight, and he can always come back and tell us to,
it's
change
entirely your pleasure, obviously.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is, in reading the Yo and Yo presentation, I'm sure everybody saw the point where they did talk about responding to the audit committee. Okay.
If that's the wish of council, I'm happy to obviously take a look at it and respond back. We'll have it in my report by next time, and you'll know, obviously.
Actually, is there any reason? No, I guess you can't. Never mind.
we got a motion and a second.
Part of the analysis, I don't know if that's where you're going or not, but part of the analysis will be with respect to obviously OMA and how it impacts the committee.
Well, it's not a quorum.
2 people.
It's 2 people.
I understand.
So what's the
What-
impact?
One of the things that I was doing while I was hearing and why I didn't pay full attention to this piece of paper was going into my listserv of municipal attorneys where we go to for these
Yes,
issues.
the magic
And
listserv.
The magical listserv, which does have, because of depending on how you set it up, OMA may be implicated.
And that's why it makes sense to let him analyze it
Yeah,
and come back.
if it pleases council, I'll come back with a report. I know, obviously, you certainly, it is certainly your purview, and you can have such a committee. We fine tune, the direction and the duties of the committee and the responsibilities, and we come right back with it.
It's
Okay, well,
going to have to be faster that because the audit's already behind.
let's pass the audit
That's my
committee
issue. Yes.
and have Mr. Newshire.
All right, well, because the motion on the table is for the 2020-21, and this was part of it, so yes, I agree, let's pass it. Well, I mean, I agree, let's take the vote.
And if you want to change something, tell us what it makes
Because
sense.
this wasn't part of the
We'll change this.
motion, this was not part of the
Yeah,
motion.
this was the explanation, I agree.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to call the vote on the motion, which is to form an ad hoc audit committee
Two council members.
to oversee the 2020-21 audit process.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
No,
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
I'm going to ask the question for the sake of expediency, whenever this comes back. That also begs the question on what two people. So I'm asking the question. I'm asking the question.
I would nominate Georges and yourself.
Who's yourself?
You. You're the experts at financials, both of you. That would be my motion. Do you want a motion right now?
Well, I would
I'm
like
making a
to.
motion that the two of you, Georges and the Mayor Scripture, be appointed to the committee.
Pending any addition Mr. Newshire might
Yeah.
qualify with, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? Mr. Shepherd, you're quiet up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to not interrupt. I've got some things going on right now, but yeah, no, I agree. I think as far as that sounds like a good plan, and I'm looking forward to what Mr. Newshire brings back.
Let's go with our
Did
strength.
you send, because we just looked at this, did you happen to send this to Mr. Shepherd?
I didn't know he wasn't going to be here. That's my fault.
All right,
Well, I think it's entered into the record.
Well, that's okay, because
I mean,
we're
as
only
far as-
voting on the committee, and you agreed to that, so
Yeah.
can somebody please
I will
get this
send
to
it.
him
In
immediately?
my letter to council, I'll
So
include the
again-
letter
Okay,
from
thank
Mr.
you.
Georges as a
Okay.
reference point.
Okay, do we have to vote that it has to be included, or?
We just
is that-
approved the committee, and they
Okay.
just motioned and seconded to appoint. I'm just making, I didn't realize, it just dawned on me that you might not have seen what we were discussing a minute ago, what
No, but
Mr. George has
But
read.
George read it off, right?
Okay.
So George read it off, I guess, is the fact that we can go back into the minutes and review that. But as far as it being officially entered, August has the letter, then Rennis, you'll have that as
I
part
just
of
want
your.
to make sure you get the information so you
official
can look
report.
at it.
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
perfect.
no, as far as I heard it, I'm not a financial expert, so I appreciate, that you'll do it.
Try to go with the
If that
strengths.
comes down to it.
Roll call, Mr. Gitschlag.
Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilman Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
no,
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks for volunteering, you two. We appreciate it.
Welcome to Clausen. Oh, wait, that's him.
Okay, so Mr. Newshire is going to follow up, so I don't have to say anything else about that. Was there anything else under new business? Anybody?
I have some motions you want to have in new business or council comments.
Well, if it's new business, if it's a motion, I guess that's new
New
business.
business, yeah. And
Unless Rennis just cleared his throat because it's not?
Oh, no, my fault.
Okay.
okay. These council packages are getting huge. So I make a motion that the city manager provides to council the correct, it's two different ones. The first thing is that we didn't pass the Headley Amendment. So it's the city manager provide the council the corrected and amended budget by August 11th for review by council.
Is that our next meeting?
No, it's a couple days before, so
Okay. Oh, you want it in our hands?
in our hands, so
You didn't
we
mean-
can ask
sorry,
questions
sorry,
before
sorry,
that,
sorry.
the 17th meeting.
Okay, I understand now, sorry. So your motion is what again?
Yeah, for the city manager to provide to council the corrected and amended budget by August.
Proposed, because we would have to
Proposed.
approve. Okay.
propose corrected and amended budget by August 11th for review to the council.
I'll
Oh.
second that.
Any discussion on that?
Now, if we're gonna ask for Headley or anything, we gotta know where we stand so we can tell the citizens what's happening if we don't know.
I just want all the things fixed that I know
Yeah.
are wrong with it. All right, anything else? Roll call.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Did you have more?
Yes, I got one that says, I have a motion to suspend all hiring and terminations until November 1st, or we get the budget straightened out.
What's November 1st is magical over the budget?
Well, that'll be the meeting just before the election, and then the next council can take the problem up. This would be right up till then, but
That's a slippery slope, so if someone comes in and shoots up the building, we can't fire them. I mean, you can't tie a manager or any organization's hands.
we can't go on adding people and.
Adding I'm fine with, but to suspend terminations is incredibly dangerous. So if someone comes in and punches someone, we can't terminate them. I mean, you can't. That is.
If I may, council, actually, I don't know that there's a second, if it's time to speak or not, because they may not be.
I'm going to second it for discussion. Please
Thank you.
explain.
So, council, Councilmember Sampson, I think the authority of council will be limited by definition on that account, unfortunately, because obviously we have weak council, strong city manager form of government.
On the firing form, but we can freeze the hiring from a
You can
budget
freeze the hiring,
perspective.
yes.
All right, I'll amend it to hiring only.
So
Freeze the hiring is what you're saying?
Yep. There's a motion to suspend all hiring until November 1st, or we can change it any day after the budget's done.
So I just saw a post that the Parks and Rec Department has positions still opening. So you're telling them they can't fill those positions? They were looking for summer help still, so they can't hire those people now.
Was it budget? Can anybody have budgeted for, or just nobody?
We don't have a budget, so what's budgeted for?
I don't know. You're right. 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't
we
have
don't-
what it
we
is.
don't have
It's not
anything.
right.
Right now,
Was that an open rec in Park and Recs, or was that something that hasn't been filled? That's something more recent.
To answer your question, I just saw a post that they still had positions open in Parks and Rec, and they were asking for people to apply. There was some office position open. I sent it to my neighbor who's looking for a job. That's how I know about it.
An office position?
So there was, there's positions that are open. So you're going to tell them they can't do that anymore?
Well, if we get a budget like we're supposed to, then I guess we can
They could
change
be-
that pretty quickly.
They could be corrected on somewhere in the middle of August.
How about if you limit it to the creation of any new positions? Because I think that's what you're trying to achieve here, that they're not going to create any new positions.
Well, I don't know what the new office position is. That sounds new to me.
I don't know what it was. I just saw it on Facebook. I have no idea. I've sent it to I don't know what it is.
I don't either.
May I interject? It's a front desk person. It's a part-time person that Gina needs assistance for down there as she
Parks and Rec.
reopens. Yes.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant there was two Parks and, I'm sorry. I thought there was Parks and Rec and an office. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay. Now I understand. Was that in the budget?
Yes, those salaries for those positions were budgeted. That was approved on June 29th.
So both of those positions are Parks and Rec. And, okay.
There's 4 open positions posted on our website right now.
Okay, for Parks and Rec?
No, crossing guard, park attendant, recreation office staff, and senior transportation driver. I'm not sure which come under the Parks and Rec.
Parks and
purview.
Rec is, well, senior program,
Which
but
of
under
all
Parks
of
and
those?
Rec.
One's
Yeah.
police listed.
That would be the crossing guard,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
think,
that's replacing someone,
yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Councilmember Sam, but I think you're looking to address new hires, new positions to be filled. Is that fair?
Created.
Created.
These are the ones that need to be filled.
Yeah. New positions to be created, which would be squarely within your authority because indeed it has not been budgeted.
So we lost a crossing guard?
I'm sorry.
We lost a crossing guard?
That's an ongoing process because we have some
come
full-time,
and go.
part-time. So
Right. Okay.
we're always hiring for that position to fill in as needed.
And the office person at the Parks and Rec?
Yeah, so Gina's been obviously behind because of COVID and not hiring, and now that things are picking up and programs are going on, she's now needing to fill those positions so she can run her department correctly.
And our senior driver did retire during the pandemic, is that correct?
Correct, and she's been
So
struggling
the senior
to get
driver
those.
it's replacing the gentleman that retired.
Yeah, she's not creating new, she's just trying to fill her department so it
I'm
can
just
run.
being clear on what we're replacing, because I do remember he retired, I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
And then, what was the fourth?
Driver, recreation office staff, park attendant, and crossing guard. Those
Park
are the
attendant,
four.
and the park attendant,
That falls under Gina as well.
That's Gina.
right,
Yeah.
but haven't we been having a hard time filling that too?
Yeah, she's been trying to fill it, and
So it
it
might
is
not
what it
even
is.
get
It's
filled.
always out there, she's trying to fill those positions.
So it might not even get filled anyways, because it's gonna be
Might
fall
not, I
soon.
mean, things are tough right now trying to get any of her
Mm-hmm.
positions filled, but because she's increasing things she's doing at Parks and Rec, she actually needs to have those positions
She's actually
available to be
looking at
filled.
that gentleman that was there for a long time and then not anymore, because I know we had a guy for a long time that was, and then
Yeah, she
ever
had
since then,
three at one
they've
point.
had a hard time filling that.
Yeah.
Mr. Sampson, are you okay
She's
with
trying to
those
run her
positions
department.
based
Yep.
on
I'll make it a hiring freeze on
new,
newly created positions.
Thank you.
second
Does that help you?
stand? Because I didn't second that. Does a second stand?
Second.
All right, with the amendment. All right, roll call.
Councilmember Moffett,
Sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Thank you for helping out with that, Mr. Gutschlag. Sorry, August. Any other new business?
Yeah, I gotta make a motion that all weekly reports, that the city manager produce all weekly reports by Friday at noon. Not Saturday, not Sunday, but Friday at noon, so we know what's going on.
I'll second that.
Sure.
It's not a big, it's a big thing. We started this, they were coming Thursdays but now they're getting later and later and later. And
You want to know when it's, actually, that would be nice, because then I can know in my email and not have to look at it after that.
Well, you like all the motions here then in a minute.
Roll call, unless somebody has something,
No.
question. Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
No.
Okay.
More new,
Yeah. Motion that council packages are due to council by 12 o'clock on Friday before the normal council meetings and 36 hours before a special meeting,
unless the special meeting did.
unless the special meeting's
Okay.
shorter.
Right, because you have 18 hours
Yeah.
to call a special meeting, so.
Yeah, because the
Okay.
council packages are showing up.
You mean more like a workshop or something?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
pre-called, okay, because you can't.
You say noon on Friday, is that what you said?
Noon on Fridays.
So council packets on noon on Friday.
Yep. And 36 hours before a special meeting
Or workshop.
or workshop.
When you can call them 18 hours before, it's kind of hard.
That's what I was
to
just
set that, yeah,
asking.
so
That's what I was saying,
All right.
unless it's pre-called, like we just did a workshop call. So I think
Yeah.
what he's saying is for the IT one, 36 hours before.
I'll add that.
And for the audience out there listening, this one was 217 pages. You know, if you only get a couple days, and a couple of them we got, one week I got open finally on the day of, we got them on Sundays, and it'd be nice to have them on Friday so we can call the city manager and get questions answered on Monday at least.
All right, so is there a second? What was that?
Second.
Nobody's jumping up to talk, so roll call.
Mayor Scripture,
Sure.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Passes.
Can I do one more?
It's your prerogative, anybody's prerogative under new business to make a motion or discuss something.
It's been brought to my attention, we've been working on the arch in downtown for somewhere between 2 and 3 years. And when you talk to everybody, it's finger pointing both ways. So I'd really like to empower the city manager, and mine is to motion to direct the city manager to pull all the principals together, and anybody involved in a downtown arch project.
You mean the alleyway? The
Yeah,
West
the alleyway. Yeah, the alleyway.
Okay, that I can support. I don't know where you're going with it, but I can support that.
And get everybody in a meeting next week, solve the problem, and start construction, and prepare for a ribbon cutting ceremony on 9/11, just before the Cinema Streets. I think it'd be a great addition to the city, and 3 years is enough, guys. You can rebuild a couple of buildings in 3 years, so.
Well, I'm going to agree with that because I'm on the DDA board.
There's a
I'm going to
support?
second that. Yes, I just said I second that.
Oh, good.
And I'm going to share the DDA perspective because I'm on that board.
Is Joan?
And
Yes.
yeah, she is. But
You have the fence made, or the wrought iron made already, right?
yes, I mean this has been DDA's been asking about this has been going on for way too long. It is insane. I mean, it was bad advice in the first place out of Harry's mouth. And it just went downhill from there. I don't understand any of it. Every freaking day, every time we have a meeting, every time someone asks, there's another. Something looks like it's getting solved and nothing happens, and we keep asking at the DDA what's the progress. And from what I can tell, I am Weiss Distillery. I can't believe they're as patient as they are with us. How we forgot to tell them that they had a $10,000 bond that they now have to come up with. Not good customer service. So this whole thing has been a disaster, and there's no reason for it. And somebody needs to step up and say, "Get it done."
That's what we're doing today by voting here. And I appreciate everything you've done, Joan. It's been great, and I'd like to see that finished.
The way it was planned and approved by the DDA board in the first place.
Yeah, the original plan.
How long ago was that?
Oh, about 2.5, 3 years now, before I was mayor.
Probably have to paint the steel.
Anybody else have any questions? Because I clearly stated my piece on that.
I'd like to ask Mike.
We have a lot of projects like this.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
What did you say, Glenn?
I would like to ask Mike, what's been the impediments that you've observed, Mike? And what are your concerns about that timeline?
I know that contractors have been issues with timelines. I know Rennis has been for, I don't know how long, has been dealing with AT&T with that pole. That's been one of the major issues with the structural nature that I'm sure he can expand upon, because that pole is right there, and that has been one of the longest standing issues that we've had in there. There's been drainage issues that we've had the contractors out there meeting with that, the DPW and Hartwell Concrete. They've been working on it. They've had discussions out there. I mean, I know Rennis can talk about more of with the AT&T pole that's right there.
Do you have a solution for everything? That's what I'm asking. Get everybody in a room and get a solution next week.
My understanding is they did. So yeah, I'll touch base with them tomorrow to make sure. But I know that Matt was working with Mike and with Hartwell Concrete about that situation. And I believe they're meeting tomorrow. Joan's in the audience. I know that they're meeting there tomorrow.
I just asked her to come up to the podium. I mean, I've heard it, so in DDA meetings, but go ahead.
We had a decorative arch made that's been at the DPW for 3 years. We were told before it was built and showed it to
the engineer,
shared it with the local
at the time,
engineering consultant and city manager at the time, and was told that this would not be a problem. When it got made, then we were told, you can't put that in because of the AT&T pole and the guide wire. When Weiss Distillery purchased the building adjacent to the alley, We looked into maybe sharing the cost to bury the AT&T pole, which turned out to be close to $30,000, so that was a no-go. We tried to get, Weiss did, I did, tried to get AT&T to fix the pole that was listing this way. And then we got Mr. Nushai involved, and he got them to put in a new pole and then move the guide wire so that it is much tighter to the pole. Now we can put the arch up. So that's one phase. The other phase is that when that building next door was purchased, water pools at the opening of the alley right up against their building. It's at the doorway, and they were concerned when they came to us about site plan because they wanted to put in that walk-up window, and there's a puddle of water there. So I was told at the time, again by our engineering consultant here, that there would be a trench drain put in at the mouth of the alley. That would take care of the problem. And then the DDA...
Wasn't it also supposed to be brick pavers, not concrete?
Then it was
foot
all going to be brick pavers put in once the
and that was
drainage,
in the original design.
Once the drainage was taken care of. Then that whole year kind of went by. Then COVID took another year. Now we're into this spring. And I'm told that they have a contractor ready to put in a drain. Great. Went to see it when it got in. It turns out it's a storm sewer drain right in the center of the alley. Nobody told us that the plan had changed. And so...
And to back up for a minute, the purpose of the design of this, in line with the downtown master plan, was along the lines of a New Orleans alley. That's what Mr. Weiss understood when he made his plans for what he did. It's
beautifying the alley,
parcel.
putting an archway so people understood that this was a place you could go. This takes you into the parking so that you know if you're downtown that there's also parking there. There's going to be artwork and brick pavers and seating, and that's the whole plan. So that paving that in brick pavers, that was a discussion and maybe it's been more than 3 years ago now, when we started talking about, because the arch has been at DPW for 3 years, so that conversation started before that about the arch and the pavers. So now we have a storm sewer drain right in the middle, no trench drain. The alley's torn up. It's looking like an embarrassment. AEW went and shot more grades to look to see if they should put in an additional drain. At first they said yes, then it was, well, no, I think it can be taken care of maybe just with landscaping. Hartwell went and looked at it, also shot grades, and said, well, I think when the landscaper puts in bricks, that'll fix it. I'm not quite sure how the grade changes if we put bricks down, but we are meeting tomorrow. I called together the landscaper, AEW, DPW. It seems like there's another actor in here, Hartwell.
Oh, Weiss.
And Weiss, and all going to meet tomorrow. And I invited Mr. Sampson today. I talked to him. Meet tomorrow at 1:30 to look at this problem and try and figure out some sort of solution, because it's just got to be fixed. It looks like a mess.
So is there additional costs associated with it? Who's bearing the costs of this work?
When we talked about it 3+ years ago with the city manager at the time, we were told that there would be money in one of the road budgets, since this is a municipal alley. So
should have carried forward in the budgets.
So that's where it was then.
Did you get some grants too?
We got grants for the arch. We got sponsorships. We got volunteer time and donations to do it.
Is there any jeopardy of losing grants?
I don't have anything current no.
Okay.
No. There are some I can apply for, but there would have to be, I got to have a plan. And this has been dragging on for 2 years now, just the brickwork.
So when you get the plan at 1:30 tomorrow, then.
Well, I hope we do. I think that's
So
being
if you get the plan at 1:30 tomorrow, and there's costs associated with it, if it's more than $5,000, it requires city council approval?
No, it was already budgeted for. This,
I just asked if it was budgeted for, you weren't sure. You said it was budgeted for before, it should have been carried forward. Kelly, was it
Correct,
carried
so-
forward? Don't know.
believe so.
You don't believe so?
It's probably in the fund balance.
it was approved? Was it approved in a prior council meeting? Or was it approved when a budget was approved?
Well, if we don't know the amount of it, then
It would
it's
have
not
a budgeted
approved.
amount.
It was, I can't answer that. The time has gone on so long now that, I mean, I know what I was told when
And
I
get
met
that.
with the
And
city
I'm not really
manager
pressing
then.
you for an answer. My concern is we're setting this arbitrary deadline, and I get that it sounds like it's been a headache. But Mike is right. I know contractors are very, very difficult to get, and so you guys might come up with a fantastic plan, but it's securing the services to get it done and then making sure we have the money. So to pick a date that it has to be done now when it's dragged on for 3 years, certainly longer than his tenure here, it seems like you're tying some hands, you're setting people up for failure. I think it's great that you brought it up for discussion so that we're all aware of it, so we can keep it at the top of mind. But to set a deadline that it has to be done by when it's dragged on for 3 years, I mean, you're just setting people up for failure.
I'm happy to see a target. And if people aren't available, and beyond our control, that a contractor isn't available, we have a landscaper ready to do it if that turns out to be the answer. And he's totally booked in August, so but again, a target is good. And I would agree that if we.
Target's a great term. We're gonna have a ribbon cutting on 9/11 is not a target. And I would support language that said with a target and regular updates, but not a ribbon cutting.
You want to change it to a target ribbon cutting?
I mean,
I agree with you.
since every week when I ask, because we have development team meetings every week now, and every week it's a different reason why it goes another
Can I
and another
suggest an
and another, and
amendment?
I just some sort of a.
ballot.
Can I
It's all
suggest an
valid.
amendment on the target? Would you consider amending your motion to say a target of whatever date you set? And if the target is not met, we will get a full report on why.
But no, it's target. All during this process, we want weekly, just notes in the weekly report, how it's
Whatever.
moving.
I want a report on why it's not going to get met, or when, if the target changes, I want to know why and to when.
And if August can remember what you.
Specifically.
If August remembers what you said, I'll change my motion.
Right now, I think there was a motion for a meeting that was already scheduled.
No, there was a
For
motion.
tomorrow?
No, there was a motion. The motion on the floor was to finish the work in this
Here.
alley by September 11th for a ribbon
And it was
cutting.
also for Mike to have a
Wait,
meeting,
It
but
was for a meeting to get everyone together,
wow.
which is already
Yeah,
happening
it's
tomorrow, I
happening,
understand,
yeah.
so.
Hold on,
I didn't
everybody.
hear that part.
I'll reread it. The motion is to direct the city manager to pull all the principals together
Oh.
involved in the downtown alley project, arch project, what do you want to call it? Alley project, and solve all the questions and be ready to start work by August 15th and prepare for a ribbon cut.
Okay, now you're just adding stuff.
No, I did it. This, my thing is that August 15th, we want to pick a date, because nobody's going to do anything unless we have dates there. So the one big date, August 15th, we've already beat that, because they're going to meet tomorrow.
Oh, you wanted that, okay.
Yeah, so to prepare for a ribbon cutting on 9/11, or, what was it, did you want? Or
What I was saying
a final
is that-
report of why it failed.
No,
The
not
goal
failed.
of a ribbon cutting,
I was saying a target
Phrase it that
date.
way, yeah.
Yes, a
That's
target date,
wiser.
and if the target is not met, regular reports with lots of specificity on why and what the new target date is, without it being someday. You don't have to put that in there. You get what I was saying.
I think we all get it.
Could we add,
All we want is Joan
Are you,
Ever.
If I may-
I made the, so were you
Well,
okay with
the
that?
Madam Mayor, Clint, Mr. Shepherd's trying to.
If I may, I just want to find out if we could add also a postmortem as far as what happened.
Sure.
For lessons learned also included.
Problem.
So that, and part of this is because this sounds embarrassing, because as far as what we have, site plan approval for people coming in for projects in the city, we hold them to fast and hard dates. And the fact that we haven't done that ourselves, it sounds like the famous chicken episode all over again.
Yeah.
But this time it's the city that's responsible.
Glenn, I'll surely add that if the mayor will support it.
Of course.
Okay,
Thank you.
August.
Postmortem added.
Sure.
Great.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have to vote.
Thank you.
So I guess roll call vote.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes,
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
thank you. I'm done.
Godspeed.
And don't say.
You're done, right. All right, engineering, old and finished business, engineering RFI update.
Yes, Rennis and I spoke about this as to what was discussed at one of the prior meetings. I have reached out to several engineering firms, continuing to analyze the numbers for true cost comparison. My hope was, but he was pulled from the agenda, was Mr. Lockwood was going to discuss AEW costs because that's been coming up. So my suggestion is I've been looking at the longstanding history, is that just to provide more necessary services that we can discuss at that workshop that you were mentioning for them to
Could just
discuss
do a
more
memo.
engineering.
I mean, you just did an RFI survey, you could just do a memo. Tell us what you learned.
Can I ask a question relative to that? A citizen asked a question at the beginning of the meeting, why we have the AEW. And I know there was a comment the other day about no one in the city has an engineering degree or something like that. Is that the need for getting these engineering services like she questioned, or expand on that, since we don't have an engineer in the city?
No, we don't have anyone that has an engineering background that's a certified civil engineer. That's why we contract out with that firm, that they have the liability, that they know all of the standards that they need to adhere to. We do have the superintendent that helps facilitate some of the other projects in there, but there's no background that he has in that. So he works with AEW, but we need to contract out because they're the engineering services.
But what you're specifically saying is we need by law a civil engineer to approve some of these things.
Just to approve the drawing, so they had to put his PE stamp on it.
Correct.
And Matt doesn't have it, but he's got some of the knowledge, so we have to go to somebody for a PE stamp.
That's answering Ms. Phillips' question, yes.
So, and that's not a job requirement for anyone in the city?
That is, there are certain requirements under the job descriptions that are required for specific department heads. It does state in there.
But we don't have anyone meeting that?
No.
We don't have anybody that's a civil engineer. Hence, we've contracted with a civil engineer.
No, and no one who has, she brought up a bachelor's degree or any type of degree.
So, I'm sorry, but I just want to understand. So we have a job description, and the person who holds the position doesn't meet those requirements?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay.
The other item is the IWC, which is the industrial waste charges. That was another discussion that was brought forth at a prior meeting. We have completed our initial analysis, and we are currently investigating a proper plan of action with legal counsel assisting. We didn't want to have anything, we're still discussing this because of some of the legal implications as Mr. Nushai has kind of discussed over many meetings. We're reviewing the historical data with regards to the billing of the IWC charges. The treasurer has provided invoice details going back to January of 2016 from Great Lakes Water Authority regarding these charges. We're continuing to evaluate, and we'll provide the work plan and the recommendation. I believe Rennis and I spoke about this at the upcoming agenda for the consideration.
Yeah, we
At the next meeting?
Yes, at the next meeting, we'll be providing, actually, our hope had been, per your motion, to have all that information up today. However, this is a little tricky for several reasons that we've talked about over the course of time, and that this body has talked about over the many months in advance of this. And we think that we're working on providing a couple of options. One that we think will be ultimate, the one that we will hopefully recommend to you and hopefully you will select. We anticipate fine tuning that, the period of time that we're looking at, as well as the pathway to accomplishing both the proper review going forward, as well as addressing the prior, inconsistencies to the extent there may be.
So is that a long way of saying you don't have the answer yet, you're not ready, and we'll get it next meeting?
We do have the answer.
But you're not ready yet?
We're not ready yet.
And you'll have it at the next meeting?
And we'll have it at the next meeting.
All right.
And you're going to get it to us a little bit in advance, so we have a chance to look at it and come with questions, right? Like that 36-hour motion we just had?
You
Or
could.
if you don't want to put in whatever you're going to do, but we're going to get that ahead of time?
Yeah, we may have, part of this may be cloaked under attorney-client privilege, so you may receive
So
it
we're
ahead of
holding a
time.
closed session?
No closed session, but you may receive an attorney-client privilege information.
Then you will tell us it's attorney-client privilege, so we don't post it in
Correct.
the Gazette. But yes,
Correct.
you will get it to us so we can look at it.
Yes,
And have questions ready.
if needed.
Great.
Forthwith.
Public comments for an items not on the agenda. Whoa, gosh. There goes your cup. Hope
Not
it's
sure
empty.
I'm really under public comments, but
Bring
I'm
it on.
Scott Lockwood, Executive Vice President for Anderson, Exine, and Westrick, and I will not take up much of your time. But one thing I did want to indicate to Ms. Joan, I'm kind of throwing myself in front of harm's way. I am not fully aware of the issues with the arch, but I will say that we will be committed to getting this resolved.
I think it's more the drainage at this point, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what it
it's
sounds
the
like with
road, yeah.
Hartwell, and I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't necessarily know, but we will be completely committed to getting it resolved. Also, I don't know if there was any further questions with regard to the engineering role. We provide engineering for a lot of different communities, and typically there's like a DPW director, and then we provide plan reviews. We also have a lot of other services like survey, like you indicated, architecture. Those are like our three staples, but GIS services and a lot of other things, including for Clausen, you do have a nice GIS system. It's somewhere between fully robust and kind of, like a more of an intermediate model, but it's however you want to populate it. But I think, not sure if that necessarily answers the questions, but I do think for the plan review process, you do need to have a professional engineer that reviews those, or at least a graduate engineer. And I guess, I don't know if you have any other questions with regard to that, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware I was here. I was going to speak while Ms. Joan was speaking, but I wasn't sure exactly where I fit into the conversation, so.
Are you attending tomorrow?
What's that?
Are you attending it?
It sounds like I am now. I was totally unaware of it before tonight, so I'm glad I stayed.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, as part of, I think I'd mentioned to Mayor Scripture earlier, if there's a workshop, I would gladly attend, and I would be more than happy to discuss all of our fees, what our pass-through fees are, that are basically for plan reviews and things like that. Those are typically pass-through fees, which makes a pretty significant portion of our.
Honestly, I expected them to do that. I really am caring about the workshop part would be the actual.
CIP stuff.
Yeah, well, the capital, the infrastructure stuff. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but since you brought it up, I am going to ask, unless I missed it, and I know you have like 3 different sets of maps with our water and our sewer and the roads, right? And the Pacer, they're the worst.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way to overlay the worst ones so we can see maybe where they might intersect? Like, it used to be back in the day, you'd have those transparent things. I'm old enough to remember when we'd flip them
Yes.
up, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I absolutely do. The one thing, because in the very last sheet of that, maybe the second to last sheet of that presentation, it's got the water and the road program on one overlay, basically, one drawing. The water, though, typically these days is done with trenchless technologies. It's typically either a pipe burst or a directional drill. So doing it in concert with a road project is not necessarily as important as it used to be when you had to open cut the whole thing.
Okay.
Now sewer, you probably saw that one drawing. The community has done a ton of sewer rehab as a result of, there was an S2 grant in 2007, 2008 that the community TV'd almost the entire system. Since then, the community has bought a TV truck that Matt and his fellas and gals operate, and they've TV'd some measurable amount of sewer since 2018. So.
Since when?
I beg your pardon?
Since when?
2018.
Okay.
Yep. So the sewer, what, I mean, not to get into what I was going to talk about, a lot
No,
about.
but actually, let me, because I have one question on that, and this is what I would hope we'd come to the workshop. My understanding of the American Rescue Act, and I know that our infrastructure needs are way greater than the 1.2 million we have, but my understanding is that they do allow, if you need to get to the water or the sewer, because that's part of one of their big components, they do allow the road improvement to go with it.
You are correct as far as I understand as
So that
well.
would make, to me, when we have actual money in our hands, those roads lined up with the worst sewer, water, whatever's left, the most important priority because we have the money. That's what I'm actually trying to see. That's why
Yeah.
I'm asking the question, because I'd like to see how much of, where that might fit in with that American Rescue Funds.
So the layout at I think it's again, the second to last sheet,
Okay.
it does have the proposed 5-year CIP water and the proposed 5-year road. Some of the coinciding projects were Washington and,
Please say Dreon.
well, Drayon is actually one of them also, though. There's two. There's Drayon and, the school area. And the other one was Washington, and I can't remember the name of the street that's just north of
I mean,
14
that's
Mile.
fine, but you get where I was going with that.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
all I
so
wanted to say.
that was
When you
one of
come
the
to the
reasons-
workshop, I'm hoping to be prepared for that angle, that aspect of it, because that's crucial to our planning.
Absolutely. And
That's-
really, with your GIS plan, we could, if we have it up on a screen, we could actively kind of look at those things.
Sweet.
While we're doing it.
That sounds fun. Let's do it.
It is. I'll bring our
That
GIS
sounds
guy.
way fun. Okay, let's do that.
Okay. So at any rate, I don't know if there was any other questions, but I wanted to at least mention that I did hear Joan and understand the frustration, and we'll work towards resolve on that.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
I see one call, well, do we have anybody that wanted to speak at public comment for items not in the agenda on the?
We do have one caller on the line, Madam Mayor. Caller, if you'd like to speak, please press *6 on your keypad.
And while they're maybe pressing *6 or not pressing *6, does anybody else in the audience want to speak? No? All right.
Okay, it looks like they would not like to speak at this time.
All right. Then with that, we'll close public comment for items not on the agenda. Mr. Nushai, did you have anything else to report?
No,
Are y'all
nothing else
covered
for
there?
today. I have one, the briefest, because I thought you asked a question earlier with respect to quorum and the ad hoc committee. There's two ways we can get into trouble with that, which is why I said there's another way, and we come under the purview of the OMA. It's based on who creates the committee. If it were a committee created by the city manager, no quorum, then we would not be under the OMA. The rules of the OMA we wouldn't be under that purview. However, since it is a committee created by a government authority, council, then we would fall under the purview. Just FYI. The answer came.
Show me that.
I will.
Not now. I want to see it.
Yeah, there's a case.
I'm not, I didn't say you were, I
there's
said I want to
case
see
law.
it.
No.
That's all I said.
Yes, ma'am. That's all. Unless you have any questions,
Yeah,
of course.
I just have a quick question, just because we're discussing it. So we just discussed the topic of not having our own civil engineer. Does that open us up to any issues that we outsource all of that?
We haven't had our own civil engineer in forever.
True. So liability is a very broad term. Is there, could I foresee some liability? Of course.
Well, you foresee liability walking.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's my job. I pride myself in it. But yes, I mean, certainly, that's certainly feasible. But we haven't had an engineer in a long time. That's why we have AEW.
So I guess more specifically, that if we have a job description that requires something and we're not living up to that, is that concern?
I could see concerns. Obviously, city manager falls under the purview of the city manager.
The city manager falls under the purview of the city manager? That's what you just said.
Pardon me. city engineer, I meant to say, falls under the purview of the city manager. He'll review all that. He'll make whatever, if there's a determination to be made, he'll make the determination. I know obviously the city is, well covered. AW does, their professional engineers.
I think our descriptions say,
Yeah, Lou.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think our descriptions say degreed engineer or equivalent.
Or equivalent. He does. I'm pretty sure it does.
And when you get into this thing, at a 5-year level, you're a pretty much equivalent engineer.
I'm sorry.
When you're at a 5-year level and doing that, or a 10-year level, you're considered equivalent to just about anything.
I know that I've seen, and obviously I don't have this in front of me, I know that I've seen it in the past, and it has, I think the equivalency, actually it's stated outright in the description itself. Some positions obviously, could you have an equivalent to a law degree, speaking for this position? Absolutely not. And I think, could you have somebody doing this particular job and coordinate with a law firm? I would imagine you would want to. But obviously in this case, this has been the reality for quite some time. But yeah.
There's several major firms that use what they call engineers that are the equivalents. Yeah. And when you have to get a PE stamp, you go pay for it.
And this is one of those issues that, older established communities, not issues, I shouldn't use that term, but this is one of the realities that older established communities such as Clawson do have, where, in a lot of positions, people have been with the city for a long time, have grown into those positions, have that, they address the issue of equivalency by way of their experience and know-how. That may well be the case here.
Civil engineer licensed thing? Or?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yes, they're certified.
Oh, you got Mr. Lockwood right there. Feel free.
Really, not necessarily. You can get a civil engineering degree and never pass. You basically can't take your professional engineering license or professional engineering exam until 4 years of practice after you graduate.
Okay.
And some people do that and still don't ever pass the exam. So they're still civil engineers,
Just
but
like
they're
some
not
people
professional
Get a
engineers.
law degree and never take the bar, right?
Yeah, or never pass it.
So, but having a degree.
I don't know, I'm just saying.
But having a degree, so you have to have a degree first, and then you have to do it for 4 years, and then so degree is
Yes.
part of it.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, in Rennis's, I guess, effort to explain it, we have had folks that I've worked with that never even had a degree, but they've practiced so long. We still, like he said, he can't sign anything or anything like that, but they have probably more working knowledge than I do myself, even though I might have the stamp.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, to that point, Abraham Lincoln never had a law degree, but practiced law successfully. Once he argued for the plaintiff in the morning and won on a motion, and then in the afternoon argued for the defendant and won. Still no degree. Go figure.
Hey, that guy in suits never went to law school, right? He just took the
But
bar.
86, yeah, exactly. As of 2021, 86 credit hours in an accredited law school, or else.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
That was it, Mr. Nusha?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
City manager report. Oh, sorry, city manager report.
Nope, I have nothing. Just want to thank the DPW for handling the water main project, and for August and the clerk's office for running a great election. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Then city council comments.
Would you even let me talk if I wanted to?
No, actually, I'm not.
That's what I thought.
Councilmember Moffitt.
I got nothing.
Nothing.
Mr. Shepherd.
No, I remark about the election from yesterday. I was, I think it was a relatively low turnout, but I think it was more than what I expected. So I think it was a good representation, and I'm glad that it passed.
And I too praise you for, that was your first total official election, right?
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, how many absentees did we get this time?
We ended up with, at the end of the day, I want to say 1,400.
Wow, so.
Now that's the change in the world now.
No, I know,
because
but
we
that-
issue so many absentee ballot
That almost-
applications.
what do we have, 25? If I
Yeah, it was the majority, and as was
Wow.
expected in other cities too. For these local elections, you used to be able to predict
Mhm.
those AVs as a solid 60 and over voting block. It's not the case
Were they
anymore.
still coming in like the last ones at the last minute, or were they mostly?
We got a couple at 7:45, at night. I mean, people were walking in.
Okay, not voting, but turning in absentee.
Yeah, well, we had people come in and vote too at the end of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
night.
that I get. I just
Yeah.
wondered about that.
But it went smooth, and the crowds were not busy in person. We didn't expect that,
They
but
never
the
are.
key, it's moving towards a mail-in election. It just seems to be the trend for everyone. If you look at the numbers across all the results and all these local elections, we're really high on the AVs all
But
over.
does that mean we?
What is that? What was that percentage? Was that 60%? What was the?
Of what showed up, of the voters, yeah. I'd say maybe even higher if I had the numbers in
I
front of me.
think I thought it was almost 2,000, and you're saying 1,400 absentees.
Yeah, I mean, it was
So that would
the
be, yeah.
percentage of the people that voted by mail in these local elections are going to be higher because it lands on their doorstep,
So does that end up meaning that your absentee ballot counters? Are we going to do something different with that in the
Yes,
future?
we
Okay,
are in the
that's
future.
right. So okay, perfect. That's what I thought. Well, good job. I mean, didn't.
I
hear a
couldn't have done it
single thing going-
without Michelle and Jennifer and the help of the DPW department and the support of Nick
always
and
do
the
an
folks in the
awesome job
treasurer's
setting up.
office. We all all hands on deck. It was great. It went well.
Good job.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir. Second.
Was Glendon talking?
Second.
Yeah, did Glenn?
Oh, I'm done. Yeah. So I'm done, and I seconded the adjournment motion.
Yes, Mr. August.
Oh, I can do that now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Georges. Yes. Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
We're adjourned, Madam Mayor. Safe travels, Glenn.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk soon.